For the Weekend Warriors Custom Paints and Diecasts Cup Series here for Season 3. I am a new voice to this series, at least. You may have heard me somewhere else, possibly on JP's broadcast before. I'm Carl Withy. Joining me up here in the booth tonight, I have JP himself. How are you going, JP?
Carl, I'm doing really well, thanks, mate, and welcome to everybody viewing tonight.
A pleasure to have you with us, and we're also joined in the booth intermittently by Mr. Mark Johansson. How are you going, Mark?
Yeah, good, Carl. Good to be back racing for another season, and looking forward to some good racing again this year.
It is going to be an exciting one, of course. A very different car package we've got tonight. Very different cars out from last season as well. So that's going to throw a spanner into the works for a lot of drivers. We are here at Michigan, of course, 150 laps, 300 miles around this extremely fast circuit. Pretty much the fastest circuit in the NASCAR series, as it does not run a restrictor plate. And that's going to be a big difference factor for these cars, as they have a bit more horsepower over the prior version, the old Gen 6.
Yeah, it definitely is, Carl. I can tell you now, I haven't done a lot of laps in these things, and it is a handful at the moment. So, yeah, and we'll see how we go.
It's going to be interesting to see how these ones perform. They are very different. If you are joining us for the first time this season, or if you're a returning viewer, of course, and you're just wondering what's changed, well, they've got a live rear axle on them. They've got an underfloor to them. They've got a diffuser at the back, so they get a little bit more rear aero assist in that respect. Not so much over the body, but underneath it, a little bit of round effects almost. They also have 5 gears this season instead of 4, and that is through a sequential gearbox. So no more H pattern gearbox, which is a huge change to things. And of course, a live rear axle, which has really changed things up. These things are a very different car to drive, and it's got a lot of drivers out, especially at some of these much faster circuits. Just riding the bumps sometimes, a few drivers are really getting caught out. We've seen it a few times in some other series where especially at Daytona, Fontana, for instance, where there are those bumps, the cars will just absolutely snap out of control. Very hard to keep in the right direction.
Yeah, definitely, Carl. It's definitely a handful of a car, but again, with the new aero package and everything on them, they say it's going to be a lot closer racing. So only time will tell, I guess.
Yeah, that's it. It should be hopefully a bit closer in the old racing aspects, which is exciting to see. That is what we want to see, of course, out on track. We are here for the racing, of course, not for little processions and people following each other. We want to see that action out on track, and I'm sure we are going to see that once again this season, like we do every year. These guys are all out there trying to get that win next to their name, trying, of course, for that coveted championship, to get that title under their belt. Of course, 2021 winner Darren Mckenzie will be looking to do his best to defend that title, and not always an easy thing to do.
No, definitely not this year, mate. We've got some A1 drivers decided to join us this year. We've got the owner and promoter of ANZCAR, Edward Foster, looking at doing the full season. We've got JCW. Andrew Dyson's going to join us next week. He was unable to make it this year. And then we've got some of our own stars like Brad Allison, Scott McClintock, and as you said, Darren Mckenzie, and a host of other drivers that will definitely be looking at getting the win tonight and starting the season on the right foot.
Can't count out the Mitch Motorsport boys. Got Josh Mickelmore out there tonight. One of the only Mitch cars I think I can see out there tonight. But again, one of those fast drivers. Lots and lots of competition through the field. Adam Malone been having some really good runs recently as well. Ruben Phelps, of course, do not count out that man. Last year's winner at Michigan. A driver that can absolutely get it done on the night and is looking for a strong season. This is going to shape up to be one of those classic years, I think. New regulations, new cars, new changes to those cars. It brings out the best in drivers. And from what I've heard and what I've felt and from what I've experienced in this car, it is a real driver's car.
Yeah, it definitely is, mate. You know, you've got to really put in a little bit of time to get comfortable in the car. I don't know if you can see me. I'm not quite comfortable yet. This is a custom setup because the iRacing setups just aren't quite right yet. With all the work they're doing in the background, but they'll get there. And in the meantime, we'll keep plotting along and racing.
Yes, I mean that makes a bit of difference as well. Of course, you know it's sort of having the setup right, and a lot of times setup has been one of the trickier things to get with these cars because, of course, they are very different from last season. You can even change the gear ratio and things like that. There's a lot of little bits and bobs that you can change on these cars that can make a big difference, and I feel like just getting that bit right is hard in itself. But these are some of the stock setups that they have got right technically. A lot of people just don't feel quite comfortable with them. So it's going to be interesting to see how that evolves through the year.
Yeah, definitely. You know, we got a lot of teams here this year, different teams too than last year. So yeah, it's going to be interesting.
What we'd love to see. So we're in practice at the moment. Got a bit of time here in practice just to get a bit of a look through the field, get our eye on the ball, and just get prepared for this nice race coming up. Of course, it is that new season, and new season jitters do come in that first race. You want to get a strong start to your season because it's a long way to go, of course, and you just want to make sure everything is nice and set in there for the year.
Yeah, definitely. And like there's a few guys that haven't been able to make it this year. Tonight because of the new format that we're running. So it's going to be interesting to see how the teams and the championship unfold tonight.
Yeah, that's going to change things up as well, as you say, slightly new format for this season, which, you know, it's one of those things. Hopefully, it will make things better for everybody to make it a little bit easier for everybody to get in and out and get racing. But it does change things around, and sometimes people have their commitments on for those days, and all of those little things come into effect when a season is running through its championship.
Yeah, definitely. Sorry, car's just breaking loose. It's definitely not a low track runner car. That's for sure.
Yeah, so I'm just having a bit of a look at the runs at the moment, and it's interesting to see how these ones are going to be sort of paying off because we've seen in the past that they've had some, of course, Michigan you sort of tended to run sort of mid to high line, I guess, more often, a little bit like Fontana and like Texas, of course, their sister tracks. But with this new sort of change in car, this new direction it's gone, it's changed the way they handle, and that's going to mean driving differently. And it's one of those things you almost have to relearn the whole car.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely a handful of a car.
That is for sure. We'll try and jump on board actually with Mark, just to get a bit of an idea of how it goes around the track here. So this is from the driver's eye view, Mark. So talk us around as you're sort of getting a bit of an eye as you come around this track.
Well, here you try and stay up high, in just off the gas a little bit here. Mid corner, you just start to feed it back on the gas hard here, and full throttle down the back straight. Trying to stay as close to that wall to get the side draft off the wall. Just lift the hearing, mid track again, just on the gas, nice and easy, about half throttle, and then slowly feed the gas back into it for the main straight. If you can call it a main straight, it's more like a semicircle, and then we do it all over again and just have to watch for guys drifting up from the inside.
Yeah, that's going to be one of the big issues tonight. It's just the drift up and just cars getting loose as well, just in odd spots. Correction is going to be key tonight. The cars, especially these new cars, it gets a big snap of oversteer on the exit of turn number 2 there. They do tend to get loose on certain spots. As soon as you get over a bump, they can start to get a little bit funny, and that's that underfloor coming into effect with the splitter. But also, when you get into some side draft action sometimes, or even free wide, it can really catch the car out. And it's been interesting to watch how these things have been sort of just getting their way going. It's going to be interesting to see who can rise their way all the way to the top of the crop this year, because it's more about getting that driving correct, and it's going to suit certain drivers more than other drivers. So you might see a few names jumping up towards the top of the timesheets that we've not seen in previous seasons, and some of the old hats just falling down a little bit in pace just as they struggle to get used to this new car setup.
Yeah, definitely, mate. It's I can tell you what, as I said, I haven't done a lot of laps in this thing tonight, and it's definitely a handful. It's breaking loose in places where you're not expecting it to break loose.
So just looking at the times at the moment, best time out there as it stands, the 39.2, a very respectable time here at Michigan. Very fast lap indeed for JCW in practice, of course, and you will get things like draft and little things like that coming into effect in these laps. Not a truly accurate one, but a lot of drivers are going to be out there practicing, wanting to keep sort of alone almost to get ready for qualifying, to get ready for just get an idea of how things are going to go for single laps or running out in fresh air. You're going to want to try and run with the pack as well, just get an idea how the race is going. Some of these drivers will not have driven with each other in a race before, and that sort of is when you want to get an idea of how they go. So it's all about gathering information. Obviously, not much more you can tweak. Not much to tweak, obviously, but it is just sort of getting an idea of how everybody's running and just how the car feels in this weather condition and how the wind is as well. All these little bits and bobs that can come into effect. Track temperature is actually 43 degrees Celsius here today, which is extremely hot on the old asphalt. That's going to really cook things up, and that's going to cause some real issues for the tyres. The actual air temperature is only 21 degrees Celsius though, so that's quite good news, because we have seen couple of heating issues sometimes in these cars, and obviously it can get very warm out there, and these engines don't like to get too hot too quickly. Wind-wise, not too. It's quite strong wind actually, westerly wind, 20 kilometers per hour as well. So again, it's that's going to catch a few people out, especially when you get those big gusts coming into effect as you do in iRacing.
Yeah, definitely, mate. With the new season, as a lot of people know, we bring in some new sponsors and some old sponsors that come back. So I might just give a shout out to our big returning sponsor, and that's JP and the crew from SimShed Broadcasting. So it's good to have them back on board this year.
It's great to have the SimShed Broadcasting boys and JP himself in the box, always giving some beautiful graphics and great camera angles for us to watch these fantastic cars. An absolute pleasure to get to view all of that. And as always, a big thank you to every sponsor who comes on board with Sim Racing, because it really does help an awful lot. And broadcasters are often the unsung heroes of the series, as it's a tricky old task. There's a lot of work that goes into it behind the scenes that you don't always see, and JP is working tirelessly to get that done. So a big thank you to JP himself at SimShed Broadcasting.
Yeah, definitely, mate. A couple of our smaller sponsors, Track Racer, have come on board and helping guys out with a special deal for anyone that buys one of the best sim rigs in Australia, as far as we're concerned. So it's good to have the boys there on board with us.
Yeah, again, a really handy sponsor to have in sim racing, and you want a nice rig to make your day a little bit better. It makes life a little bit easier, of course. Starting out, you don't need the flashiest of gear, but as you move along, it is nice to get some very nice bits of equipment, and it makes your life a lot easier and your bum a lot less numb as well as you go through these long races. Goodyear Autocar Warana as well. A big thank you to them, as well as the title sponsor, Custom Paints and Diecast. Of course, a huge thank you to them. You can find them on Facebook, of course, and a lot of information throughout for them. Of course, there's also the Weekend Warriors Weekend Warriors Facebook page, but also the website, of course, which is Weekend Warriors ASCC.com, where you can find all of that information as well as past winners, results, all the upcoming news and things like that as well. Are well worth jumping on there if you want to keep up to date with all of the latest action.
Yeah, definitely, mate. We might just touch on the season coming up. I don't know if I gave you the notes, and that's my fault with the week I've had and the week you've had. We've all had a bad week. I think we need to just jump forward to March and forget about February.
Oh, look, I'm all for that, in all honesty. It's been a rough one. But yeah, we have got, I don't think I got those notes. I got the notes for this race, but I haven't got some other notes, I think. So I might be missing a couple of bits and bobs. But season coming up, we have got one heck of a season coming up. A lot of races in the, coming up throughout the season, as I try and actually go to
We got sorry viewers, we've had a pretty rough start to the season with some technical issues and different programs not wanting to work for us, but we'll get there. So we've got a 35-week season this week, this year. Can we start again?
Yeah, a 35 race week this week, yeah. 35 races this week, right? It's going to be a busy weekend for us all.
Sorry, mate. I thought I was back doing World of Outlaws or World Series sprint cars there for a minute. So we've got a couple of key races, and of course our major race is our Anzac Day Race, which I can proudly say I'm the reigning champion of that race. This year, Carl, we're actually spending a little bit of money, and there's silverware for the top 3 drivers this year.
That is very exciting. And it's always nice to get that little bit of silverware in the mail after getting such a win, and it just helps promote the event as just something a little bit more special. Of course, we think of all the veterans, the Anzacs, of course, who did some fantastic work and keep doing that in all times, but honouring it with such a race is always a good thing, and the Weekend Warriors Anzac weekend race is always one of those highlights of the year.
Yeah. Then we move on. Our next major one after our Anzac Day is our Memorial Day Cup. We got to remember our American brothers, so that'll be another big one. At this stage, there's only silverware for the winner, but we are trying to work on with one of our smaller sponsors, License Me, to try and see if they'll come on board and pick up the bill for the second and third place trophy.
It's nice, again, with, as I say, this is the thing that sponsorship adds. It just gives the series the chance to add a few more little things for those drivers, give them a little bit of encouragement to do well and keep it going through the season. And those drivers out there, it's one of the things, it's great to get those wins under your belt, but when you've got a chance of getting a little bit of silverware on the table and getting that little trophy, it makes a huge difference, because drivers think a little bit more strategically for a race when they know there's a lot more at stake for it than just championship points, especially in a long championship like the NASCAR series runs.
Yeah, definitely. And then I guess our last major, or I wouldn't say major, but key event is the Darren Mckenzie Memorial. Darren Mckenzie lost his son last year to cancer, and we decided this year that we'd put in a memorial race, and what we'll probably look at doing there is setting up a GoFundMe so people can make donations. Guys will be asked to make donations to the fund, and it won't just be to one charity. Each year we'll pick a different children's charity and make donations to them for that year.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing that you guys are doing with that one, and a way to keep the spirit alive and also pay respect. And it's such a devastating thing, and it was a very hard time for all with that. It is never easy losing part of the family, but especially one so young, it is a devastating moment. And look, it is a lovely way of paying respect for that.
Yeah, it definitely is. And then we have our triple crown again returning this year. This year it's at Nashville, and Indy will be round 2, and then the final race doubles as the Sim Shed 500, which is actually a 500-mile race this year, and the final round of the Triple Crown.
And of course, getting those wins under your belt is going to be a important thing to do. It's going to be something people are going to be really wanting to get there. It's always nice when you can say you've got the Triple Crown, you've got all 3 wins, and it is not an easy task to do either. It is one of the trickiest things to get when you are when you're looking to keep getting those good results, and especially in a series like NASCAR as well, where there are so many drivers and it's so easy to get taken out by a small mistake. Winning all 3 of those races is a very difficult thing. Not impossible, but it is difficult.
Yeah, definitely, mate. And just doing that, touching on the cars, this year we've had 84 nominations to race with us this year. So we've had to change up qualifying. We now need to do a pre-qualifying to make it into the race. The top 16 from last year's championship automatically qualify into the race, but then everyone else has to do a pre-qualifying lap, and that's why our numbers are down just slightly tonight. But yeah, it's going to get very, very interesting.
Yeah, it's great to see such interest and so many new names in a few of the series and out there as well. It's nice to see new faces appearing in the Oval Series. I mean, it's a big thing for all the Oval leagues, obviously working together as well, which is a great thing, and it's nice to see that collaboration between the different series, keeping themselves together, working together. Of course, ANZCAR in that with Global iRacing leagues, sort of trying to help each other out and keep each other working, keeping the Oval side alive and promoting it for Australia.
Yeah, definitely. It's interesting. We've got, as I said earlier, and like you've just touched on, we've got guys from ANZCAR, guys from Global, and returning guys from us, and then a heap of new guys that have decided to make Weekend Warriors at home for the year.
Yeah, it's great to see that collaboration, but it's also great to see those returning veterans of Weekend Warriors back once again to defend their series and keep that spirit going. A little bit of a rivalry as well is always nice to see, because you do get that as well, and it's more friendly rivalry than anything else. It's that's only getting turned in the practice session now. I think I might have been Brad Allison, Brad Campbell getting around there. But it is great to have that little bit of rivalry going on, a little bit of love going on between leagues.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of new paint schemes out here tonight. A lot of new teams, as we said. Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic to see, and it's always fun when you got all the new paint schemes as well, because it makes life so much harder to call. As you're looking through the field, you see something happening, and then you go, "That was that was a paint scheme from last year. Who is this? I don't know who it is." Which you've got to love as a broadcaster.
Yeah, it's going to be hard for you, Carl, trying to get your head around two different leagues. So yeah, good luck with that, mate.
Thank you so much, Mark. I appreciate that. Yeah, it makes life a little bit more interesting. Let's say that.
Oh, got an angry pack. Yeah. Yep.
So, we are very much underway, and as I say, practice is still going through, and these drivers are still just getting used to these cars. It's still sorry, it's Josh Micklemore. Sorry, still JCW up in the league at the moment. With Ruben Phelps just behind him by 0.07. Absolutely nothing between these drivers at the moment. But as I say, it's all drafts and things like that at the moment out there. Not much longer remaining. 33 seconds of this practice session we're going. And then we will jump into qualifying, of course, for the Apple Blossom 300 here on SimShed Broadcasting. And the race here at Michigan always does deliver the beautiful hills just above Brooklyn in South Michigan. It's a fantastic spot, and hopefully now that the world is easing up restrictions and hopefully the world will be going back to somewhat normality, we will be able to get traveling again, might be able to go and visit some of these beautiful tracks in reality, not just in the sim racing world. The checkered flag flies for practice session. The first practice of the season is done, and it is Carol Walden in the lead with Phelps in second, Schultz third, fourth for Mckenzie, fifth for Micklemore. Let's see how qualifying goes. So, we'll get qualifying up and get this underway. So, as they're getting out on the track for their sort of out lap, JP, what are you expecting tonight?
Well, Carl, first night back after a good long break for these guys. Nerves are going to be high, so hopefully we're not going to see too many incidences on track. I'm really looking forward to some stonking racing tonight. This track should throw up some great racing too, being a no restrictor plate track. These guys are going to be going all out for the entire 150 laps, I think.
Yeah, it's going to be really fun stuff. I'm absolutely looking forward to this one. So I think we are with Darren Mckenzie.
So running on board there with JCW at the moment. He was looking pretty good. He had some purple sectors then, but Devon Stove is starting to put some purple sectors in.
Yeah, as always the case, it is single car qualifying out there. No draft, no chance from any other cars helping you out. So it's all about that single lap pace, and a few drivers will have it absolutely plastered. It's probably going to be the second lap that will be the ultimate speed here. Devon Stove crosses the line with a 39.8 at the moment. Very nice lap there. We'll see how that one stands up as we see JCW getting across for this first lap. He is down by just a couple of thousandths per second. Very, very close between them at the moment. This is going to be some really close stuff. JCW messing up that second lap, so he's just dipped below the line and lost the front end a little bit, so he's going to be a little bit slower, I think, on this second one. We'll see how these guys go as they get around. Patton in third at the moment. But it is going to be Devon Stove crossing the line now for his second lap. Can he improve? Doesn't improve on that second lap, interestingly, so not an improvement there. Let's see how the rest of the field go. It's currently Wayne Van Billen in first place, actually. Good lap from him. Very, very quick one there. Devon Stove in second with Nigel Patton moving up into third. Patton up into second now. Very good one. Norman Clark jumping up to the top of the field as qualifying moves along. Very fast lap there from Storm and Norman Clark in the Atari car. Nice run from him. Ruben Phelps jumps up to fourth as it stands. A few drivers coming out a bit later, just coming out a little bit after, hoping for maybe a qualifying cloud to come over the track, giving that a little bit of an advantage.
A little bit of foxing going on by some of the drivers, waiting a little bit later to come out for their run. Look at this, Wayne Van Billen back to the top of the field. Look at Stephen Williams, though. He's making a good run.
DB Dub just coming in there like a wrecking ball. The green DPR car just absolutely nailing that lap. Beautiful one from him, getting himself up into pole position at the moment. Will we see anybody manage to beat that one? Ruben Phelps up into P2 now. Nice run from Ruben there, getting up there quickly. Seems like these late runners are getting some good speed out of the cars. We'll see how that one pays off. Just keeping an eye on Aidan Schultz at the moment as he's on his second lap round. Will he be able to improve on this one? Unfortunate for him. Not quite. It's been a bit of an up and down one. A few drivers have managed to get that second lap working, some not quite so much. And I think that's a lot to do with this new car. Joshua Mickelmore up into P3 now, running very well there. We thought that was a great lap from being there in the 077. And then all of a sudden, Stevie Dubb, Ruben Phelps, and Josh Mickelmore come in and absolutely obliterate it.
Here we
Aidan Schultz gets across the line for P1 there. Very good lap from Schultz there. A 39.5 dead. That is a very nice lap indeed. He's going to be pretty chuffed with that one, but we've got drivers still working their way out there. Who is going to get this lap absolutely perfect? Who is going to come out on top for qualifying? Of course, starting up at front of field is always a good feeling. Adam Malone, unfortunately, looks like he's had a bit of contact with the wall. How will his qualifying lap go? I think he may have made contact that first time round, so I think he's just out there getting up to speed. So he's got a bit of damage on that car, so unfortunate for him, that's going to really affect this qualifying run. Looking at some of the drivers that haven't gone out yet. We've got Mckenzie on track. The number one is out there and trying to make his mark. Start off as he means to go on this season. How will this lap go for the reigning champion? Going to be looking to get a good lap in here tonight. Will he be able to get it done? Gets across the line here at Michigan. Running very, very fast indeed. 312, 313, 314 kilometers per hour in the old money. Very high speeds here, as we say. It is one of those fast tracks. Oh, just catches the wall though on the outside. Gets a little bit loose, and that's going to cut this lap off from him. So this lap will not count for this run. Just that little bit of contact, of course, in iRacing means that you do not get that lap counted for. So always a problem you have to look out for, and it really can catch you out if you're sort of caught unaware by it. So this second lap is what he needs to get working.
He won't be happy with that at all, Carl. That's a bad mistake from him.
Yeah, he was pushing to the absolute limits there, trying his very best to get that run in there, and really, as I said, pushing it to the maximum limit you can of getting against that wall, trying to get that air cushion. No major damage done though, so he'd still get a good lap here. But as we've seen some people improve on the second lap. We've seen people set their best lap on the first lap. Mckenzie only gets one lap to do it. If he makes one mistake here, it's going to cost him dearly. Where will he jump up on the scoreboard? Gets up into P5. A good recovery there from Mckenzie.
So we've got three drivers that are still yet to do their laps: Foster, Witcher, and May.
Obviously sitting in there, just hoping for possibly a little bit of the old qualifying cloud as Adam Ariel gets up into 24th in the 55. Very slick looking car there. Very nice paint job on that Camry entry there. Still got a few minutes of qualifying to go. So those drivers obviously just sitting in there, just hoping. There's not much cloud cover out there today. There's a couple of them floating around in the air. Maybe they're just hoping that the track conditions change a little bit. They're just trying to get every advantage they can here.
Yeah, look, this is a matter of we're not talking seconds here. We're not talking tenths of a second. We're talking hundredths of a second.
Yeah, that is it. It is absolutely nothing between any of them really. There's less than a tenth between the top five at the moment. It is ridiculously close at the moment. Stevie Dubb is just 0.02 off of Schultz. Phelps is 0.04 off of Williams. Mickelmort 0.08 off of Phelps. It is so close indeed between all three of those drivers.
Definitely close right throughout the field. I'm the strongest in the field, bringing up the rear, and with between Aidan and myself, there's just under a second between 27 cars.
Yeah, that is incredibly close out there. And when you sort of talking when you're looking at open wheeler championships and things like that, you sort of go, that would be between first and third possibly. On oval racing, that little tiny bit of difference is enough to be from the front of the pack to the back of the pack in qualifying at least. So we'll just get JP to run through the track notes for tonight.
Yeah, and we're doing something a little bit different this season. We're doing everything in the Imperial. So this track is Michigan International Speedway for the Apple Blossom 300. Track itself 2 miles in length. So they're going to be doing 150 laps for 300 miles race distance. Pit lane is 55 miles per hour. These cars have got no pit limiter, so they have to maintain as close to 55 miles an hour as they can. These cars are going to carry 20 gallons of fuel, which means they're going to be running 2 to 3 pit stop strategies. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out during the course of the night. Average fuel burn per lap is 0.450 gallons of fuel. No tyre restrictions on these, so they've got no tyre limits. The race date for this race is the 2nd of July 2022. So we're racing in the future, and the race start is at 1:35 p.m. Air temperatures 70 degrees Fahrenheit and track temperature 67 degrees Fahrenheit. So I think that's around about 19 degrees Celsius seen in our speak. So the track temperature is not too warm. 15 miles per hour wind speed coming from the west. And there are your track notes for this session.
Thank you so much for that, JP. Really useful stuff to know, and it is always nice to have that information up there, and it's useful to know, as we say. It's one of those things that makes a big difference, and working in the old miles system. I mean, I sort of work in both, unfortunately, and it makes my life a lot harder sometimes. But miles per hour makes much more sense to me than kilometers.
Yeah, I'm a child of the metric age, so miles per hour is completely lost on me.
And I've spent too much time in the States to work on kilometres, so I'm a miles man and gallon myself. So
when it's hot, I work in Celsius. When it's cold, I work in Fahrenheit. It's the traditional English thing of everything is we just use every measurement possible just to confuse people.
nothing like keeping everyone on their toes.
Got to make it interesting for somebody out there. So 3 drivers still in pit lane, yet to set a time for this one. They are running out. Only 2 minutes 40 seconds left. So if they're going to want to set a time tonight, they're going to have to get out there quickly. Obviously, they might be looking at staying in pit lane and just starting from the back of the track, of course, trying to keep out of any early incidents.
2 minutes, plenty of time to set 2 laps.
Where definitely when you consider Aidan's got pole on at the moment with a 39.5, so yeah, it's probably enough time to do about 5 laps.
It's plenty of time in that respect, but it is getting to that pointy end. So they're going to want to look at approaching the pit exit soon. You have to get up to speed, of course, in the car. So there's a little bit of that involved, and of course, starting from the back here may not be a bad idea because we have seen a few times early incidents, of course, on oval races because it is so close, especially on such a fast track like Michigan. It is quite easy to make that mistake, especially when you're running too wide early on. And as you said, got to watch out for those cars drifting up the track, especially on cold tyres here tonight. Got to be careful of that on those first opening laps. Another big thing for these drivers is the brakes, and that's something that's caught a lot of them out through practice sessions and in the races themselves, where they've been coming into pit lane and they are a bit smaller brake discs than last season, but they're much stronger. So they have to almost run the brake a little bit before they get into their pit box to warm them up nicely. Otherwise, they just don't work. And there's been a lot of people struggling with that, overshooting their pit boxes or missing their pit stalls entirely because the brakes just don't work for them as they come in. So keep an eye out for that one tonight. Watch out for the pit stops. Of course, strategy-wise, going to want to probably split the race in thirds, as JP said. If we go green, we will see that happening. They'll try and go as long as possible. The right tyres are going to wear out quicker than the left ones, of course. So we might see a few people doing right side only pit stops, if right side tyre changes only if they've got a small amount of fuel. These new cars, of course, only have a single nut on the wheel. So you no longer have the old 4-nut system of the old days. They are a quicker pit stop time overall. It's quicker to change the old wheels. So that makes things a little bit different in pit lane as well. So sometimes it's not too much difference if you're filling up the tank completely between 2 and 4 wheels. So that will be one to watch out for as qualifying very much comes to the end here, and we get ready to grid up tonight for the first race of the season, the first race of the Weekend Warriors season here on Simshed Broadcasting. It is the Blossom at 300, and we are really looking forward to this one. So let's get underway for the starting grid. So up on the front row, it is Aidan Schultz and Stevie Williams on the front row. Second row is Ruben Phelps, Josh Mickelmore. Third row is Darren Mckenzie and Wayne Von Bien. Fourth is Norman Clark and Mark Smith. Fifth row, we have Patton and Spencer. Sixth is Henderson and Drady. Seventh row, we have Allison and Koch. Eighth row is Nakurvis and Stove. Ninth, we have Patton and Carol Walden. 10th row is Trevethan and Allen. 11th, we have Jordan and Wheeler. 12th is Campbell and Ariel. 9th, we have McClintock and Below. Then we have 12th row is Johansson and Foster. Witcher and May round out the field of 30 here tonight as they all sit in pit lane. Always a beautiful sight to see those cars lined up in that way. The proper way a racing car should be started in pit lane, angled, ready to race, ready to go, ready to roar away with those beautiful V8 engines producing 780 horsepower in these things nowadays.
All right, Carl, I've got to duck out of here and head down to my team. Feel free to pull me up anytime you want, mate.
Not a problem. Good luck and have a good race, Mark. Look, we wish you all the best, and hopefully we will see you here at the end of the night and not too much throughout it.
Yeah, thank you, mate, and good luck with the call, eh?
So, it is always the bit where nerves start to come in. Those drivers will be sitting there, getting the cars into gear, getting the starters going, getting the cars ready to roll, ready to roar away, and ready to race here tonight. The pace car is starting to move away, and Schultz will now lead them out. They all start leaving their pit bay one by one and will line up side by side here for the race. Obviously, looking good for Aidan Schultz tonight. Who are you putting your money on, JP?
Well, that's a tough question. That's a really tough question. 150 laps. There are some dark horses in this race, you know. I mean, there are guys who are right down the back of the field who have every possibility and ability to win this race. So I think I'm going to be a little bit reserved with my choice. But you know, if I had to draw a line in the sand, I'd say JCW is looking pretty good.
Very much been on a decent run of form recently. JCW had some good finishes. A couple have taken away, but some good finishes nonetheless. It's good racing. Personally, I am going to be looking at Brad Allison a little bit further down the field. Very good run of form recently. Has been very much on the pace, really up there, especially throughout some of the other series, and really been having some solid races. So I'm going to say Brad Allison tonight. I'll put the old commentator's curse on him, so I apologise in advance for that, Brad. So hopefully get to prove me wrong. But they come around. Pace car will be pulling in here for the start of the season, and I'll go a bit quiet so we can hear these cars roar away.
Oh, already something's happened.
We've got Norman Clark having a big moment. He manages to avoid the field. Norman Clark having a huge snap. Just saves the car. He's just had a huge moment mid-corner. And that's what I was talking about. Watching out for those cold tyres. And that car's just snapped on him. All of a sudden, it's turned right when he was turning. Sorry, it's turned left as he was turning right. And that thing did not want to do anything else. He's managed to save it. No damage to that car. No damage to anybody else. So that was a relatively good caution. But you can see there that snap for Norman. Just out of nowhere for him. But he manages to just save it. Keeps it down on that low line. Everybody doing a great job of avoiding that as well. I can't remember who was just behind him, but the driver just behind him did a great job of checking up. I think it was Patton. Did a fantastic job of just saving that car because he almost clipped Norman. A good use of the brake pedal there by Mr. Patton and just avoiding that incident.
Yeah, look, really good spatial awareness there, and managed to avoid a big incident. And while we've got a little safety car period here, I'll just send a quick shout out to Billy Hickey today. Probably not racing with us because he's celebrating his birthday. So happy birthday, Billy! Hope you're having a great day today, mate.
A big happy birthday, Mr. Hickey. Hopefully you have a big one. Get to enjoy it, of course. And sometimes it's can be a bit hard to race when it's on your birthday. Depends how many cold ones you've had.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's not advised to race after a birthday drink up. So, first lap, we get that caution early. Nobody deciding to come in to pit lane. Nobody deciding to do that. But unfortunately, it looks like we have two non-starts in Reese May and Justin Witcher. So 28 cars out there. Norman Clark dropped to the back of the field. And we've got a couple of pits now, actually. Kobe Jordan and Scott McClintock. So two people coming down pit lane just to chuck a little bit of fuel in there. And just get that little bit of fuel in there and get back underway. Obviously, not much point in changing tyres at this stage of the race, although they are unlimited, so if you wanted to, you could do. You're going to be towards the back of the grid anyway, so no harm, no foul, but it just gives them that little bit extra, couple of extra bits of fuel in the... Oh, as Aiden Schultz has actually just clipped the wall. He's just doing a little bit of a weave for his tyres there, and I think he just got caught unaware and just clipped the wall slightly. So he's got some damage on the front of his car. That was an odd one. I'll go back to have a bit of a look at that myself, actually. And yeah, he's just damaged the... He's really damaged the right front of that car, so that was an unfortunate incident there. That's going to affect the aero of that car now, so that's going to make things different, and that could really make it a bit tricky on the restart of this race.
Yeah, that probably was just a minor lapse in concentration there by Aiden and when he clipped the wall. So it's going to make it very, very interesting for the restart. So what does Ruben Phelps do here? He's going to be up on the high line. So does he try to take advantage, or does he slip down and maybe use the slipstream to his advantage and try to get around Ruben quickly?
Yeah, we've seen sometimes, and obviously, you know, it acts a little bit like a parachute on the car when you've got damage like that. It really does slow it up. Got to be a little bit careful on the restart itself, of course, going on the leader and all that kind of thing. But I think we'll see Phelps just get a good run into that first corner, probably stay on the high line and just shoot past Aiden Schultz there. I think the driver it's going to affect most is going to be Stevie Dove behind him. I think that high line is just going to shoot away here and get a good run on the lead car. But of course, we won't know that until we get to the start of this restart. So we'll see how that one goes. But all the drivers trying little different things here and there. I was just listening to Ruben Phelps, and he's just absolutely lighting up the rear tyres down the straight, trying to get a little bit of temperature in there, just so he gets a little bit more traction off the corner, just so he gets a good start there, so he feels a bit more comfortable. It's going to be interesting to see how these boys run it for this restart, and everybody's still trying to get to grips with this new car as well. So that's the other thing, is they're still trying to get fully with it. But Aiden Schultz is away instantly as soon as that pace car comes in. No holding back there at all. And that has actually given him a good lead. He's caught Ruben Phelps a little bit unaware there, a little bit asleep. And that's given Stevie Double a chance to get up underneath him. So that was a lightning restart. Caught everybody unaware there, including Ruben Phelps. Oh, has gone off the rear. Saves it just about. Ruben Phelps just saves that one. Somebody in the midfield, though, there is a huge accident down towards the back of the pack. Who was that involved? Just down back, we've got another caution. So, Trevin and Patton, yeah. So that was really unfortunate. So Patton has just lost the rear of that car, mid-corner, as we said again. He's gone to the grass. Unfortunately, did not save that one. Trevin had nowhere to go, was a passenger in that accident.
Yeah, and really good going there by Aiden Schultz. He probably thought that he might be in a little bit of trouble once he got up to speed. So as soon as that safety car was away, as soon as the post car got away and he was able to, he just got on the throttle and got on with the business of racing.
That's 5 cents to the safety car jar there, okay. But yeah, really good awareness, and that's the thing, is, you know, playing it to your advantage. But the trouble is, you've played your hand once. You don't get to play it that many more times, and another portion this quickly, this soon after that as well. That has made it so everybody knows what Aiden's going to do. So he needs to actually, well, he needs to just carry on. Adam Ariel has had a technical failure, unfortunately. It sounds like he's had a black screen. So he's lost vision, but he's managed to just drive the car up into the just down into the infield. So he did a great job there. Really well done for avoiding an accident. He's had the intuition to turn left, go down into the barrier, and not cause a bigger accident than we could have had out there. But a few cars coming into pit lane now. Mark Smith, Drady, Trevethan, Clark, Kobe, and McClintock all in pit lane. So, well worth coming into pit lane now if you've got the chance, because you're going to get that little bit of fuel done. We've only done 6 laps so far, so not that many have passed. You know, it's won't have eaten into many of those gallons of fuel of petrol in the old tanks, but a little bit more can help towards the end of the race. If we get a nice long green stint here, those guys that have taken fuel now can go a little bit longer, and things might fall their way, so they actually get the chance to stay out a little bit longer than they were expecting, get a lucky caution, or just get a good position for the finish of the race. Maybe even cut it down slightly to possibly a shorter stop towards the end of the race, give themselves a little bit more of a chance. It just gives you a little bit more of an opportunity for the strategy of things. And this is one of the hardest things with sim racing, of course, unless you're in a nice big team with some teammates and a few people that are willing to spot for you and do all the hard work. Generally, you're doing all of those calculations yourself on the fly as you're driving. You might have the odd little bit of program helping you, like crew chief, for instance, which will tell you what fuel you've got and give you a rough idea. But it is up to you, and you're the one that's doing all the brain work for it. So you're having to be strategist and driver at the same time as team manager, PR manager, and everything behind the wheel. And it does make life a little bit hard sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. It makes things very, very hard at the moment. We can see here there are a few, not a lot of movers, but quite a few shakers. Foster those come up 11 places. Mark Smith, he's dropped down 14 places, which not too good for him. But yeah, look, there are a lot of laps left to go, so early days at the minute.
Yeah, Mark, of course, coming into pit lane though, so he has stopped, got fresh tyres and fresh fuel in that car, some lovely new fuel placed into that car. So that thing will be have a little bit more in the tank for the final sort of stages of this stint. If we go green from here, it could work out nicely. So we'll see those guys that pitted working their way through the field, and of course they'll have slightly fresher tyres as well. A few of them did decide to take some tyres. So Kobe Smith, Mark Smith, and Norman Clark all took tyres in their stops. McClintock and Jordan, sorry, did I say Jordan? Drady, sorry, took tyres. Jordan didn't take tyres. So it'll be interesting to see how that goes. But the pace car will be pulling in shortly. When does Aiden Schultz drop the pedal? He's waiting a bit longer this time. He drops it now, gets another nice restart there from Aiden Schultz. Waits a tiny bit longer. Doesn't get quite the jump on the field he did through that first restart. But he has gotten away cleaner in the leader of the race once more here at Michigan. Just behind him is Josh Micklemore with Stevie Double. Will we make it round this time? Of course, we've seen a few cars just struggle on the mid-corners. And it's caught a few people out this time round. Looks like everybody's made it through the first corner without an issue. Will we get through turns 3 and 4? Of course, slightly different camera on these corners. There's slightly different bumps in different areas that can catch you out. We've got cars running 3-4 wide, a little bit further down the pack. Very, very close. Micklemore losing that big slide for Micklemore off the corner. That's going to be a huge accident. Big accident there for Micklemore, who just lost the rear of that car on the exit of the corner. That car just absolutely stepped out from him from nowhere. He's spun around. Unfortunately, whoever that was behind him was Darren Mckenzie. Darren Mckenzie was really unfortunate there. He clipped Micklemore. Big impact there. That is a lot of cars that are going to be in that impact as well. That was a big one. That is devastating. So, flicking through the field now. So,
oh,
Mckenzie,
look at that! How close was that?
So many close calls there. There was some real close moments throughout the field. Some real saves of the day there. I think we're going to see some good onboard replays here.
Aiden Schultz throws a dummy there, but not too many people were buying.
Not many buying. I think Ruben Phelps is... I know, sorry, who was that just behind? Oh, sorry, a few cars coming in just a little bit further down. So Patterson, Henderson, Mckenzie, Smith, Jordan, Micklemore, Drady, all coming into pit lane, and McClintock as well. So a few more people coming into pit lane. A few of them will be for damage though, unfortunately, as they got caught up in a little bit of that wreck. That was a really weird one for Micklemore though. I want to say again, and this is that thing of this new car catching drivers out. Driver of Micklemore's caliber as well. You know, multiple race winner on ovals. He is not a driver that we see mistakes from often, but he's just had a little bit of a snap. Just on the exit of the corner, I'm just re-watching the incident. He corrects it, and it looks like everything's fine, and then all of a sudden the back end steps out as it catches a bump. And I just got to wonder how much of that is down to that rear diffuser. As the car gets a little bit light on the rear, that rear end just stepping up a little bit, and all of a sudden, just going around, nothing you can do. He tries to save it, and then it just snaps the wrong direction. Mckenzie just nowhere to go in that one. That was a weird wreck. We've seen a couple of those lately.
Yeah, and it seems like it's looking that way. The car grips up, and then just snaps sideways from the rear. So, yeah, this is unusual.
Yeah, it's an absolutely different beast to drive, and this is something that people have been struggling with since the inception. I'll just let you carry on, JP.
Yeah, look, I managed to take one of these cars out for a run. I'm just remembering at Watkins Glen, and I absolutely loved it. I was able to throw the car around, but that was a track circuit. That wasn't an oval, so it looks like these cars are a very, very different beast on the oval. Now they're forming up behind the pace car again. It looks like it's either this lap or next lap they're going to get back to racing. They're forming up. And by virtue of those last two pace car interventions, Ruben Phelps is back into second place, right beside Aiden Schultz again. interesting comment from Reese May. The setup is, I won't even say what he said the setup is, but he quit before the race because you've got to drive really slow to be safe. Fast is loose as in these cars, so you've got to be very, very careful. Here we go. Once again, Aiden Schultz gets that great start straight away. But pretty much everyone's onto him now, so they're keeping up with him on the restart. I think drivers are starting to take things a little bit more carefully. Ruben Phelps is having a look here. Nice move on Aiden Schultz. I don't think Aiden was going to argue the point, although Ruben's gone a little bit wide there. Aiden's getting back in underneath him. He's going to have a look. No. Phelps closes the door on him. Here we go. Aiden's having another look. He'll make it back to the front. Not too much argument going on between these guys. They know they've got a long race to go, so they kind of have to try to work together to be able to pull a little gap on the guys behind them, because there are going to be cars with much fresher tyres coming up on them very, very quickly. Have a look here down towards the tail end of the field. A lot of cars there. A couple of teammates think they're about to try to get together and start working together, see if they can make moves up the front. But have a look at this. Moved up 16 positions. Joshua Carroll Walden is now sitting in 5th place and looking for 4th. Nice work there from Devon Stove in 3rd place, moved up 16 positions. Joshua Carroll Walden is now in 2nd place, and he's looking to make a move on Aiden Schultz here. Oh, look at this. Oh, okay, so this is going to be interesting. We've just had a moment here with Justin Allen and I think Mark Johansson, just as Devon Stove overtook Aiden Schultz. So will he have to give that position back? Let's have a look at this at the replay. Looks like that was Mark Johansson. Not sure what happened with Mark there. We'll have another look at the replay and see if we can work that out. There we go. He's got himself crossed up. He's trying to save it, trying to bring the car back on the grass there. Now, this is way before that incident. I think he's coming back on the track here. Yeah, look, he's trying to save the car, but unfortunately, that was all she wrote. Here we go, a few people diving into the pits, taking advantage here. Aiden Schultz, Ruben Phelps, Greg Spencer. They've all gone in the pits. So as they stand, Devon Stove leading the race, Joshua Carroll Walden in second, Wayne Von Billion in third, Stephen Williams fourth, Ed Foster in fifth, up 23 positions. Thank you very much. Brad Allison in sixth, seventh place, Adam Malone. Eighth is Darren Mckenzie, ninth, Jamie Nankervis. Norman Clark in P10 after that incident at the beginning of the race. Brenton Henderson in 11th, 12 Stuart Patterson, 13 Josh Micklemore, 14th Kobe Jordan. Rounding the top 15 is Ryan Wheeler. Still a very long way to go, so yeah, a lot of racing ahead of us, folks. All right, the drivers are starting to form up now. 1 or 2 more laps to go, and they'll be back in the green conditions. Have a look at this. Joshua Carroll Walden's up 15 positions. Devon Stove up 16 positions. Their fastest lap, JCW with 39.6. Devon 39.9. So they're not a great deal in it, but expect to see some fireworks once we go back to racing.
It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, Mark, just explain to us what happened there. You got a little bit crossed up. There we go. We see Mark's car in the pits there, waiting repairs.
Yeah, sorry, JP, I hit the wrong button. Yeah, it just turned into the corner and rear end snapped, and that was it.
Yeah, we're seeing a lot of that going on tonight. Maybe pushing a little bit too hard, and that rear end is just stepping sideways on some of these guys.
Yeah, it looks like you need to give these things a good 5 or 6 laps. The back green.
Yeah, Devon's got a good start, but don't count JCW out. He gets a bit of a head of steam, and he'll come chasing him down pretty quickly, which we can see that now actually.
Yeah, definitely. Just to elaborate on the restarts, our race starts are on the green light, and race restarts are on the leader. So as soon as the pace car has completely left the track, the race leader can start. But when he does, he must go and cannot stop him.
And we can see here JCW's caught right up to Devon Stove now, and he's making his move. He's looking very, very strong at the minute. Matter of fact, these two cars are looking fairly strong. They've pretty much followed each other up into first and second, and there we go. JCW makes the move around Stove.
Those cars both look very stable at JP and quite like the road. Interesting nose shot. Just out of interest, like JP. Norman's one of the oldest drivers. 70s.
Oh no!
Caution.
Another caution. This time it looks like it could be Stuart Patterson, maybe.
I'm well keeping it the wall there.
Yeah, absolutely, and yeah, you're right. Norman is the elder statesman of stock car racing, a really nice guy, and has some great stories to tell about his days rallying.
Yeah, definitely. He's definitely an interesting bloke to sit down and talk to.
Yeah, 23 laps. This is what are we looking at here? Caution number 5, I think.
Yeah. It's not a good way to start the season, and I can promise the viewers that it's not normally like this. It's just everyone trying to get used to these cars and get a handle on them, and the actual yeah, I just don't know what's going on with it. Had a few issues with iRacing, and yeah, I don't know if you can hear that in the background. But we've got storms just about to start here.
Yeah, we're the same. We've been on flood watch all day here. I've got the water wings on, and it started raining again. But we'll keep broadcasting as long as we can until the end of the race, or until the weather conditions prevent us from going any further. But look, I think it's just a matter of learning these cars. Like anything, these cars are it's a new vehicle. These guys have been practicing and been doing races with them, and they've been okay. But now that they're in the thick of it, the nerves are a little bit higher. They're pushing a little bit harder. This is where things are starting to come undone a little bit.
Yeah, definitely, JP. I actually didn't think we were forecast to get storms down here tonight, but yeah, the weatherman's decided to go rogue on us.
Yeah, well, it's happening everywhere. I'm in Queensland, and we've been bearing the brunt of it this last few days, especially yesterday and today.
Yeah, definitely. I hope you've got your paddle boat ready, or your power boat.
So this is where it gets really hard. We know what the drivers need to do to keep their cars on track. They probably know what they need to do as well, but it's actually going ahead and doing it. They need to be driving at 8/10 and really looking after these cars a little bit more. They're pushing a little bit too hard, and they're snapping in the rear on them, and the guys are coming unstuck. It's easy to sit here and say these sorts of things. It's a lot harder to do it when you're in the thick of the action and racing for position. Right, lights look like they're out on the pace car now. Nice start by JCW. Nice getaway there. Ed Foster's following him through, just got his nose ahead of Devon Stove. Now this is going to be the danger time. Once Ed Foster gets in front of Devon Stove, he's going to try and team up with JCW, and they're going to try and just carry this away.
Yeah, Devon's not going to give that spot away too easy though. It's going to be definitely a fight.
Yeah, absolutely. He's not going to throw his hands up and say, here you go.
No, definitely not. And should these guys break loose, there's a whole horde of guys behind them that are trying to find a position for themselves.
Now this is interesting though, because you look at the first 8 they haven't pitted. The first car to a pit, Aiden Schultz pitted on lap 17, so he's got the freshest tyres of the first 8 cars. So it'll be very interesting to see what happens from here on in.
I don't think people want to pit. I found myself there. I wasn't keen to pit because I wanted to stay on them tyres that have got heat into them. Because the car seems to be a lot worse on cold tyres.
All right, looks like Ed's trying to make a move here. He's looking good. He's got that low line. Devon seems to be making that high line work for him, though.
Yeah, definitely. I'm still listening to some of the back chat, and there's a lot of guys talking to each other on the race radio over the race channel. From what I can see behind there, JP, it looks like there's a couple of Southern Stars boys trying to look up together.
Yeah, they're all trying to jockey for position now. Ed might have had a little moment there. He's dropped a little bit behind Devon. He was right up on Devon a few corners ago, but that also could be Ed just backing off a little bit, just conserving the tyres and jumping in the slipstream.
Yeah, Ed seems to go better on the longer run, so maybe towards the end of this stint you might see Devon drop off a little bit and Ed come on stronger. He just seems to be able to look after those tyres just a fraction better than a lot of other people.
Yeah, absolutely. He's got the ability to be able to do that, to make those consistent laps. Oh, here we go, another
Stevie
one.
Dub. That was Stevie Dub. No caution. It stayed green.
He's managed to save it. The other cars have been able to get around him, and yeah, race on. Yeah, I was saying, you know, Ed seems to have the ability to be able to stay consistent, be consistent, and make his tyres last, and then towards the end he really starts to come in. Now, is this strategy here, is JCW starting to slow down a little bit to team up with Ed and see what they can do as a pair?
I think it may be, because they'll want to, but yeah, look at that, Devon's split them, so he's going to make it hard on both of these guys. I think the only option JC may have, JP, is to drop down and let Devon go and then come back in and join in maybe behind Ed.
Yeah, this is going to be fairly interesting. We'll stay with this for a little while. Here we go.
Yep. So that's what he's done. He's going to let Devon go, or maybe not, now that Ed's car closed up on him. So maybe we may see a run. Who's that behind him? So it's going to be a four-way car very shortly.
Oh, here we go. Looks like it could have been Josh Micklemore. Now that's interesting. We need to have another look at that, maybe slow that down a bit.
No, definitely not, mate.
I think Josh has just gone. Josh has just gone wide there. He's working his way up to the top of the track and just caught that other car.
Yeah. I'm back in the car, JP, so I'm not won't be able to give you much help, but I can comment on a few things. I've just got to make sure I get lap 38 to be classed as a finisher. So we'll see how my car is here, and I'll get to 38, and then I might park it if I'm going to be a mobile chicane.
Yeah, you can see now that all the other drivers have jumped into the pits.
'38. With this, JP, it's so important to make sure you're a qualifier, because as we move further on into the rounds, we change our format, and it's the top 20 in the championship points that will get automatically qualified into the race. So it's very important for people to score points.
Now this is going to be very interesting. I think Stuart Patterson is going to be leading off Ruben Phelps here, and yeah, it looks like we're going to be an interesting start here. So Ruben Phelps, Stuart Patterson, Brett Campbell, Joshua Carroll Walden. Nice start by Ruben Phelps, and looks like the two teammates have just been able to edge away from the pack, but yeah, everyone's closing in on them now real quick. Ed Foster's making that low line work for him. Looks like we've got another incident here. Paul Drady, I don't know what's happened there, but looks like it's race on. Let's have a look at this. No, just engine issues and he's bailed to the pits. This is just textbook for Foster and JCW. Now running first and second, they're just going to work together now and start pulling away from the rest of the field.
It's going to be interesting as the season goes on to see how many races those two actually get in and are able to do, because if they keep going the way they're starting this race, I think they're going to be the ones who are to beat that Notario team.
Yeah, look, they've got some strong drivers in there, and they've worked their strategy to a T. Look at them now; they're just pulling away from the rest of the field. We can see here some battle packs forming all up and down the field here. Adam Malone right in the thick of things, right behind Evan Stove. Oh, he's tagged the wall. He's tagged the wall a few times there. That's not going to help him. That's going to slow him right down. Just open the doors for the other cars to get through.
I tell you what, JP, those two have actually bolted, haven't they? The JCW and Ed.
Well, that was their game plan. Get together, get to the front, and then get going. And I can tell you that they won't be pushing hard either. They're going to be conserving their tyres and making their cars work for them.
Yeah, most definitely.
And we can see these little battle packs, you know, just cropping up right through the field now. Change for the lead at the front, but I think at the moment it's not really going to worry these guys. They're going to be racing to a strategy, helping each other out, and then they'll wait till the last 10 laps and then really get to work.
Yeah. Well, while they're out the front there, they'll just press on at their own pace, and and just do what they have to do.
Well, you can see now that they've broken away from the pack. They've got a 4-second lead over P3 Aidan Schultz, and that lead is just growing with every lap.
Yeah, definitely. But in saying that again, you're only going to need a caution, and that'll bring everything back together, and yeah, then it'll be on again.
Absolutely, that's the nature of this kind of racing.
It looks like everyone's just settled into a rhythm now. So we may see some nice long green lap racing. May end up even seeing a few pit stops under the green.
Yeah, like you said, everybody is settled into a rhythm now. They seem to be circulating. They're not pushing as hard as what they were. They're letting their cars work for them. They're 1/3 race distance now, so yeah, bring it on.
Yeah, definitely. And with the race distances, you know, it was the guys that decided that they wanted to go a little bit longer than last year. So our races are a fraction longer. Got a couple of 400-mile races. So hopefully by then everything's sorted out with these cars, and we can do some real good racing like we did last year in the old Gen 6 cars.
Yeah, look, I mean, like I said before, these are a new car to the series. They're new car for a lot of these drivers. They've been driving them at other tracks, and they've been really happy with the way that the cars have been behaving at these other tracks. For some reason, maybe at Michigan, maybe because it's not restrictor plate, the cars are giving them a little bit more grief, but they seem to be coming to terms with the cars now. And while we're here, yeah, we may as well talk about a few of these rounds. Yeah, 400-mile rounds. So it looks like in April we've got the track racer Anzac Cup, which is going to be the 400-mile round. And then after that in May we've got the Memorial Day Cup at Charlotte, another 400-mile round. And after that, a bit further on down, the Jake Mckenzie Memorial.
Yeah, definitely. That 400-mile race at Charlotte, that's going to be a challenge in itself.
Now, look here. This is really interesting. So we've got Aidan Schultz and Darren Mckenzie, opposing drivers, but they figured out that the only way that they're going to be able to keep JCW and Foster anywhere near them is going to be by working together, and that's what they've been doing. They've been working together, and they themselves have been slightly pulling away from the cars behind them, while JCW and Foster have been pulling away from those guys.
Yeah, definitely. I've only got a couple more laps, JP, and then I'll be up in the booth with you, mate.
There you go. You're looking back at Darren Mckenzie. Now, Darren Mckenzie was the champion from last season, and he won from consistency. He didn't necessarily win a lot of races, but he was there or thereabouts, and he was in the top 5 for quite a lot of races, which helped him to clinch the championship.
Yeah, from memory, JP, I think he only won 2 races the whole season, but as you said, he was constantly in that top 10 every week.
I think from memory there was one race where maybe he fell out of the top 10, just from sheer bad luck, being in the wrong place at the wrong time. But yeah, he would be finishing. He was the guy who was finishing constantly at the pointy end of the field, and getting those valuable points.
Yeah, definitely, mate. And that's what people think. People think, oh, you got to be winning all the time. But with only 1 point, this year we've got 3 points between first and second, and then it declines by 1 point every position thereafter.
Yeah, so points are going to be absolutely valuable.
And a race of attrition like this can absolutely catch your championship hopes out. It makes a crucial difference to the end of the championship. Sorry about that personal thing there. But thanks for coming back up to the booth, Mark and JP, for covering there as well. It has settled down a little bit now, though. Touch wood, try not to put the curse of a commentator on it.
Yeah, look, they seem to be getting used to the cars, they're getting used to the way the cars are dropping off, or the tyres are dropping off for them now. Maybe they're not pushing as hard as they were. Although, having said that, look, Foster and JCW are sitting in they're in the mid 40s now, 40.47, 40.48. So there's the pace has dropped off slightly. So everybody's starting to get used to the runs now.
Yeah, it seems to be that fresh tyres tend to be the hardest thing to get used to in these cars. You tend to struggle a little bit on them, and as soon as they start to bed in a little bit, they're a little bit more, a little bit easier to drive. But barely a car out there without damage. I think Foster's is probably one of the cleanest cars that I've seen so far tonight. Some good recoveries as well from some of those early incidents too. And, of course, Schultz doing a good job holding on to P3 at the moment with that bit of damage on the front end.
Yeah, this is going to be a very interesting race all the way to the end, especially when we're looking at JCW, Foster, Schultz, and Mckenzie. Obviously, nothing's set in stone. I'm going to be very interesting to see what happens with 10 laps to go. I think these guys are going to pull out all the stops if they're still in those positions.
I'm just noticing we've got a couple of people down pit lane, so Purvis and Campbell both coming in to pit lane. And looks like it's just a general stop for those cars. So they've done about 24 laps on this stint. So interesting to see how that's going, what they're up to with that. Possibly a little bit of a strategy play there for those two cars.
Yeah, that'll be very interesting to see how that plays out for them.
So obviously fresh tyres might give a bit of an advantage here. Not a huge drop-off in pace. About a second from the fresh tyres to what we're running at now. But as we said, the cars seem to struggle a little bit on those fresher rubber. So interesting to see how that one plays out. I think on looking sort of throughout the field, unless something's gone wrong on mine, I've got Ruben Phelps that has been out there for 41 laps apparently. So not sure if that's correct, but if that's so, then he's having a good run.
Yeah, the comments over the race radio, and like you know yourself, Carl, we talk to each other through the race. Everyone feels that the longer the cars are on these tyres, the better the tyres are. There's not as a big drop-off as what we thought. And when you go back on the green tyres, the cars are just a handful.
Adam Ariel unfortunately losing the engine completely, so he is rolling to pit right lane to retire that car. So unfortunately for him, but we've got a battle going on at the moment between Mckenzie, Bryan and Schultz. Being getting past Wayne Van Beeren up there in the 007, having a good run. That car is relatively clean as well, so he might be in a good spot. Obviously, could have been getting held up a little bit behind there with the front damage on Aidan Schultz's car. So he's managed to break free now and is pulling quite a decent gap. So watch to see if he starts to catch up on this lead pack, who are pretty cruisy at the moment. They've got 8 seconds over the rest of the field, and the Atari boys are working well together, Carol Walton and Foster. They seem to be having a nice run out there as it stands.
Yeah, they're really in control at the minute. So since the last restart and they got to the front, they've really been controlling this race.
Yes, and something else I just wanted to mention as well, one of the other changes of these cars is they've got a lower profile tyre as well, of course. And that's been something that's caught people out. And with the tyre wear situation, I wonder if that's got part of it to play with it, where they don't sort of... doesn't wear the same as it used to, and it's not quite as bad on old tyres as the last gen, the 6th generation car. So it seems longer in the run, the tyres seem to be better, but the early stages, these things are a bit of a pig to drive.
Bit of a pig, that's the understatement of the year, mate.
We've got to keep it PG and try our best to keep it parental friendly there. But yeah, not the easiest of cars to drive on those fresh tyres, and it really has caught so many people out. And again, I think it's going to be a thing we're going to notice in these races, in the early stages, that in the opening few laps, we're going to see a few cautions, and then it will settle down a bit as everybody either gets a bit of damage on their car or just settles into it as their tyres are fully up to temperature, as everything is in its working range, and they're feeling a bit more comfortable.
Yeah, I think so, mate. It's also to do with the setups and that. As we said pre-race, they're not 100% right, and if you try and fine-tune them, because we're a fixed setup league, you can either go too far one way or too far the other way. It just seems to be a real fine line in the setup.
Being fixed up, everybody has the same setup in that respect. It's just driving the setup that you've got, and that's a skill all in its own sometimes, because you have to adapt your driving style, because obviously if a car is a bit loose or a bit tight, you sort of have to work your way around that, and that's easier said than done sometimes. It can be very tricky to apply yourself to that, get it absolutely right and to your driving style.
Yeah, definitely. What's going to be interesting is when we go to some of the short tracks, like the 800-metre tracks and the Dover, the mile track. A lot of people don't understand the technique in driving these things. They think it's just get in, turn left, go fast. There's a lot of braking that will come into the effect through those short tracks.
Yeah, that's really going to make things different. And I was talking a little bit before about the brakes on these cars. They are different to the brakes we've seen before. Obviously, they're a slightly smaller disc, but they're a much stronger braking package. But you do need to warm them up a little bit. You have to get some temperature into them. You have to get some brake soak in there to get them working correctly. On a short track, that's nice and easy. But on these long, sort of almost super speedway-esque tracks, that can be very difficult. And I think, again, we're going to see on the opening laps of the short tracks, a lot of people having issues with brakes. They're going to struggle a little bit for those early stages until those discs are nice and warm and to that beautiful point where they start to glow a little bit. It will be that thing of just getting it right, getting it working.
Yeah, definitely. What a lot of guys will do is like on the longer tracks here, like myself here, because I've got a slightly damaged car. I'm actually trail braking, using a bit of sprint car braking, like just dragging the brake into the corner and then just getting off it and letting it go again about mid corner.
That's a really good way of just keeping those brakes, in an operating temperature where they will work for you. And that's something that I tend to look at doing as well personally. But each driver is different in that respect. But I tend to drive a little bit more of the skip barber these days, and that's one of those little techniques that you tend to have in that little car as well. And I found that it's funny to compare a tiny little skip barber to a giant stock car, but with the new rear suspension package, they are a little bit closer than people expect these days. And found some of the techniques from those cars transferred over a little bit to this new generation, and especially driving the old generation to this generation, you sort of have to relearn it and almost take over a little bit of that single seater experience to it.
Yeah, for sure. Um, it's just such a big difference to the Gen 6. Like as you said, Carl, the rear ends are a lot more lively in these things. It's caught me, it's definitely caught me out in our practice races. And yeah, you're 100% right. You've got to really relearn your racing.
Yeah, it's a strange sensation to have because a lot of these guys are absolute veterans in the stock car series, and they've been driving that Gen 6 car for many years now, of course. It's been a long time since we had that change from the Gen 5s, and it's that thing of relearning everything, and you've almost got to forget what you've learned in the prior years and now get into it yourself. Ruben Phelps coming into pit lane now, 52 laps into that stint, so that's good to know, sort of roughly on fuel numbers, about 50 odd laps in the tank you can manage. So we're getting to that point now where drivers might be looking to come into pit lane soon. Aidan Schultz, Darren Mckenzie coming into pit lane as well. So I reckon on green flag pace for those longer stints, next 5 to 6 laps, we might be seeing a few more people coming in. So we'll see how that one plays out, because of course strategy is key here. At the moment, it is Joshua Carroll in the lead with his teammate Foster just behind him. 9 seconds back is Van Buren, with Clark just behind him. About a good 7 seconds behind at the moment, ahead of Adam Malone and Patterson. So there is a bit of a gap that's formed out in front as those drivers that were in the top 10 have pitted. Of course, they're going to come out on nice, fresh tyres now, so they've got to be a bit careful of those, as we said earlier in the race. The good part is now the track has rubbered up a bit, so these cars will leave rubber on the track. Of course, you get that racing line that we call it, that dark patch in the middle of the oval, of course, that you can see, and that will make the track a little bit more grippy and help a little bit. Should make the cars a little bit less twitchy like they were earlier in the race when it was green. So that should make things a little bit easier in this race as we go on. But they have to get them up to temperature, they have to get them working, they have to get everything back up there. And if they can get them working well, they're going to gain a good second a lap or so on the cars ahead of them, who are about a second slower on the old tyres. It's not a huge difference, but that does chew away quite quickly. So, for instance, if Van Buren pitted in soon, if the tyre guys stay out there for an extra 10 laps, they will lose that gap that they've had if they stay out there for a long time. So they're going to probably have to cover some people off in the near future, but they've got enough of a gap where they don't have to think about it for a little bit of time, so they can have a little bit of playtime out there. It's more those guys a little bit further back who are battling for the top 10 positions. They're all going to have to start thinking about if they stay out or try and cover off the guys that pitted already. Do they try for the overcut? Do they try for the undercut? What's going to be more powerful here? When we talk about the over and undercut, of course, that's a bit early to get fresh tyres, to get a faster car out on the track, and that will help you out because you can go a little bit quicker on those fresh tyres and get a big pace advantage. The overcut, of course, is staying out longer and just keeping that lead effectively. But when you go back out on those fresh tyres, then you're faster in the latter stages of that stint. So both techniques can work. Sometimes some tracks it's more effective than the other for certain areas. So we'll see which one pays off most. Just looking down the line at the moment, Aidan Schultz is the highest car that's come into pit lane. Last time round, he set a lap time of 39.63. Last time round for Carol Walton and Foster, it was 40.4. So you can tell just there is a big pace deficit on those fresh tyres. Those fresh tyres do make a difference, but he has lost a lot of ground by stopping. So he has lost a lap, of course. So he's a lap down at the moment. He needs to get that back. He will be the lucky dog, of course, if a caution does fall. But if a caution does fall, these guys can all pit under the yellow flag, not lose too much time, and that's going to help them out. So just looking at some of the other battles that we've currently got throughout the field, relatively spread out at the moment. Mark Smith and Greg Spencer are probably some of the closer ones at the moment, but they're sort of keeping it relatively in hand. Devin Stove trying work his way up to the front again as well, having a decent run back through the field. A bit of damage on that car, as I said. Very few cars out there that don't have damage at the moment. It's going to be a good night for the panel beaters.
Definitely looks like it's going to be.
Good night or a busy night? That's the question. That's the beauty of sim racing, of course, is you need less rubber mallets for the end of a race. Just a little bit more code to get the car back in shape. It costs a lot less as well to repair one of these things, which is nice. But the race is settling down now, which is good. This is what we want to see, and there is some good racing going on out there. Brenton Henderson just moving up a little bit as Adam Malone comes into pit lane. So we've got a lot of different strategies on playing now as well. So that's interesting to see. These strategies are starting to split up a little bit. People are taking a few different lines as well. I was watching the leaders. They're playing around with different lines at the moment, trying a few different areas, seeing what's going to work out best for them. And that, again, is always interesting to see because that's more driving style than anything else in that respect. Obviously, they're working together, not pushing too hard at the moment. I imagine that will change with a couple of laps to go for the race. But they're just keeping a good pace at the moment. They've pulled out 11 seconds, almost 12 seconds over the 077 at the moment. He's doing a fantastic job in third. Norman Clark sitting in fourth, who just sounds like he's doing a bit of a fuel save as I've gone over to check on him. As JCW comes in pit lane, Foster sticks it out for one more lap. So interesting to see the teammates are not coming in all in one go. Carol Walton in pit lane, that makes Foster the leader for the race. Devon Stove coming in pit lane as well. Green flag pit stops are fully go for the leaders now. How long can they keep it out for? Who's going to keep it out the longest? Who can make it a few more laps? They'll only need to make one more stop after this. So it's the longer you go here, shorter time you spend in pit lane for fuel. Foster coming in now, I think.
JCW's on his way out, same with Devon.
Foster sticks out for another lap. So Foster's sticking it out for one more lap. So interesting to see there from Foster. He's managed to save a bit of fuel and just sitting underneath the rear spoiler of his teammate there. Just using a little bit less fuel throughout the race has helped Foster out a bit. Van Billion coming into pit lane as well. So as well as Norman Clark. So that's going to move Henderson up into P3, I believe, unless he comes into pit lane, which he doesn't. He is up to P2 now. So late caution could really work out in these guys' favour, of course. But I think we're going to see Foster coming into pit lane now. He's very much on the clutch.
He's in pit lane now.
And in he comes. So keeping an eye on that one. Where will he come out in regards to his teammate? Who will get this stop done right? We will soon find out. So should be relatively similar places on the track. You'll probably see Harold Walden will have gained a couple of car lengths over Foster just on those slightly fresher tyres, just able to set a little bit better pace out there. So we'll see when they come back out how that puts up. But they will be able to go until one more stop if we remain green here. As you see there, JCW flying past his teammate on the low line. And the 35 takes the lead over the 53 once more. A big gap now, and that's the difference on those fresh tyres. You can see the difference that makes. They were nose to tail coming into pit lane, and now Foster has lost a lot of time. So that tells me the undercut is very strong right now. Currently, Tristan Koch is sitting in P2, but he's yet to stop. Managing 49 laps on this stint. Doesn't go longer. Yes, he does. Sticks out there for another lap. As Greg Spencer has a bit of a moment here on replay, just watching this one. Looks like might be one of those mid-corner moments. Yes, it is, just on the exit. Oh, just avoids going into pit lane, goes across the grass, cuts the lawn there, saves that one, gets back up to racing speed.
He may end up with a penalty for that because he may have got the outside line of the pit lane. So have to wait and see if he gets a penalty for that one. And that's not from us, it's from iRacing.
Yeah, that will be an iRacing slam dunk if he gets it, of course. There is no arguing with those stewards. I'm going to go back and have a look at that myself and see if I can see if he did. I think he just avoided it. Yeah, he just narrowly avoided it by millimeters. So I think he is okay. Not seeing him come into pit lane at the moment, so he's looking good. So, as the stops have finished, it is Carol Walden over 3 seconds in the lead of Foster at the moment. Schultz in third, 9 seconds back. He has Darren Mckenzie all over the back of him at the moment. Mckenzie having a great recovery drive after that early accident and getting his way back up into the pointy end of the field here for his championship defence. And that's what you need to do defending a championship, get a good strong finish like this. Right on the back of Schultz here. Will he sit behind Schultz and just use him as a little bit of a fuel saving device? Okay, just Williams coming out the pit lane here, giving us a little bit of news on the old recording feed. I don't think there was anything else in that one. Sometimes.
Sorry, Carl. I was just going to say the biggest issue with Darren last year was where he dropped off a lot. Was that he tended to go out hard and fast and struggled on tyres in the later stints. So maybe it looks like he's done some work through the off season and just learned how to look after those tyres a fraction better.
Yeah, he's keeping pace in this race well, and he's just sitting there in a nice position at the moment, not pushing too hard. As I said, you've got to wonder how much of that though is down to the damage forcing him to not push hard, and how much of it is sort of more of a driving style adaptation to get better racing, better long-term racing, long stint racing over a short stint race, of course. And that's something that you see in oval racing a lot, is people, they have really good pace in the short stint, but not so much in the long stint, and then others will have a great long stint and not so much short stint pace. It's those unicorns that can manage to get both working that are very much the real threats out there. Meanwhile, Foster is catching on his teammate now as those tyres get up to temperature. Slightly fresher tyres on his car, of course. And I think those two will just link up again coming towards there. But JCW is doing his best to keep in the lead, of course. Teammates, especially in Atari, they like to race each other and they don't like losing to each other. The person you don't want to lose to in motorsport is always your teammate.
Yeah, most definitely. You always want to get one up on your teammate when and if you can.
It is always so very true. You see that time and time again. The most important person to be in any race is always your teammate. Just don't crash into them. That's the only rule.
Yeah, definitely. Isn't that the Red Bull? Race as hard as you like, but don't touch.
Oh, depends which year of Red Bull, of course. If you've got Mark Webber in the car, then it's just stay behind Vettel. But yes, as we've often seen in motorsport, doesn't always work that way. Many times in history, we've seen the teammates racing and unfortunately making a little bit of contact with each other.
Sometimes it's unavoidable. You know, it's just you might just get up alongside your teammate and just get that little bit of a snap, and yeah, unfortunately, it's the team that suffers.
And it is so, as I say, it's so easy to do in oval racing as well. It is one of the harder things to race in. All racing is tricky and they all have their different challenges. But with oval racing, of course, you are so close to each other. Big slide there just behind Foster. That was Brett Campbell. Just had a big moment as his back end stepped out on him mid-corner once again, just towards the exit of turn number 4. But it is always the hard thing when you're racing side by side with people, because there's only millimetres in it. You are so close to each other at such high speeds. We're doing well over 180 miles per hour, 190 miles per hour on these straights here at Michigan. Translates up into the 380 mark, I think, kilometres per hour range. It is ridiculous speeds you're travelling at, and all it takes is a slight lapse of concentration, a little moment, or even a sneeze or something like that can absolutely ruin your race if you're racing side by side with somebody.
Yeah, definitely. It's only a matter of just looking away from the screen or looking away from where you are, and next minute you know you're into the car on the outside or the car inside, or even finding that big white thing on the outside of the track.
Sending yourself off into space somewhere as well. That's happened a few times to myself. But yeah, it is easy to have happen, and it's hard as well when you're leading a race. The concentration factor has to come in as well. If you've got a comfortable lead, which we currently got for JCW and Foster in second, they're sort of in comfortable spots at the moment where they can just ease off a little bit. They're not having to think too hard. They can relax. And sometimes that can be problematic for a race driver, because if you relax, you end up causing yourself more problems. People that can't relax at the moment is Schultz and Mckenzie. As Billy on, it's right on their back. The 077 is catching up nicely onto this fight and is really taking it to these guys. And as I said, he's got a very clean car too, so watch out for that one. If he gets a good run here, he might be able to get in front of this little group. As he's trying to figure out which way he wants to go, up or down, left or right, high or low. It looks like he's going to choose the low line. Mckenzie doing a good job of defending, just comes down, keeps the car on the middle groove at the moment, just to stop Billion from getting underneath him. Very nice work indeed. Defence is very tricky on these tracks sometimes. Can't quite get it done as they go across the oval section here at Michigan, as Billion makes it past Mckenzie there. Will he keep the position? Just got to hold that car nice and low. Make sure not to slide up too much. Get a good run off the corner. Mckenzie might be able to get a move back here. Can't quite get the run off the exit. And the 077 takes the position over the number 1. Now he is looking at the back of the 52. Aiden Schultz. Will he be able to get past him too? You've got to say, that car is looking very quick, looking very undamaged, and he is looking good to get up there in P3 for this race.
Yeah, it's probably the straightest car out there, to tell you the truth, by the look of it, Carl. I've just been scamming through the other ones. The only other two that seem to be reasonably straight are the two out in front.
Yeah, JCW's got a little bit of a wrinkle on the right front panel of his car. Foster is pretty clean, in all honesty. As the move goes on down the inside, gets a nice run there. Schultz is going to try and get a tight run off the exit, see if he can get a run off there, get that little bit of slipstream, a little bit of drag off the car in front of him. can't quite make the toe work. And he is in third position. Nice work for Mr. Wayne Van Vliet. So he's just got to keep it now calm and steady, and he should be able to pull out a bit of a gap over these cars. Just working on his own now, unfortunately. 17 seconds off the leaders. So nice big gap up front, and it's just got to be. This is the time when you've got a gap like that on an oval course like this, you sort of start to worry a little bit, because caution can absolutely ruin that. You're only a caution away from losing that time. But of course, you also have to keep focused, and that is one of the harder parts in the race, is keeping the focus on. We say it time and time again, when you're in the lead and you've got nobody to fight, sometimes you just relax a little bit too much, and you make the odd little mistake here and there. There are also a lot of lapped cars out there as well, so you're constantly having to get past them. And in oval racing, there are no blue flags. So no blue flags to get in the way. You are racing the cars a lap down. That is position, and it is to try and keep on the lead lap sometimes. So it is an important thing to do. And you will find these drivers, they won't necessarily block for position, but they will make it a little bit more difficult for some than others.
Yeah, definitely. There's an unwritten law, or unwritten rule, I should say, in oval track, or especially stock car racing, that if you're a lap down, you tend to move to the high side and let the guys on the lead lap have an unobstructed run past. But as you said, Carl, it doesn't always work like that.
Earlier in the race, you might have had a little bit of a tap from that person, and you might just go, going to make this a little bit more difficult than it has to be. There might be some grudges from the past, and there are often these little things that can come into effect in racing ovals. And sometimes you just get caught unaware as well, and it's just little things like that that can get involved in a motor race. But as we say, at the moment, up the front, it is smooth running for Natari. They are just going to be hoping that this race remains green. They get a green flag to the end here. They are looking in very good position. Just taking a bit of a look, and it's just hit lane. Quite a few wounded cars out there, though, so it's possible that we might see a light caution from a car just expiring, just as the engine decides to give up the ghost, as they've got damage to the cooling systems and things like that. With some of these cars that are out there that look probably more at home at a scrapper's yard than a racetrack. As I say that, I think somebody's engine just did let up. It was Justin Allen. His engine has just let go on the front straight. He's going down to the inside, and he's going to pull off to the infield, but hopefully it won't pull out a caution. So his engine has just let go. Exactly what I was talking about. But he's going to have to... Good situational awareness there. He stayed up on the high side, let everybody know that he was effectively a rolling roadblock, and he's managed to pull down to the inside and get a tow back. No caution needed. Very good situational awareness there from Allen. So we just see the end of that incident there. He sort of caught, the leaders were catching up to him on the front straight, and not the best place to have an engine let go, in all honesty, because you can't really get out of the way of those cars. But he kept the car rolling and did a very nice job of avoiding that. So good job on his behalf. Shame to see that engine let go and him out of the race, though. Meanwhile, it is the 077 that is setting some of the faster laps out there as he tries to close this gap. Still 17 seconds over the leaders, but he's pulling away a little bit from the car behind Aidan Schultz. So that battle will be interesting to see how it plays out in this race. If you're Van Billion, do you decide to come in the next, say, 10 laps or so, get those fresh tyres and try for the undercut, or do you just keep going as long as possible just in case of that caution?
Probably try and stay out as long as you can, and wait for that caution. But then again, as you said, Carl, come in, take tyres, and should there be a caution, then when everyone else dives in, you're on the warmer tyres and they're already bedded in. You know what you've got under you.
Yeah, we've seen, obviously, depending on how long between the caution flag and you're sort of pitting, that's going to be one of the things that affects it, I'd say. Could affect your decision. You could even try just taking right sides if you've come in for tyres already and roll the dice a little bit if you're sort of on that strategy or on the lead lap, say. So it does give you some options if you can make it work. Of course, if they pit now, they are going to pull the lap down, so it's going to make it tricky. So 46 laps remaining of this race here tonight for the Weekend Warriors here on SimShed Broadcasting. And it is Carol Walden in the lead over Foster, William, Schultz, Mckenzie, Malone, Clark, Henson, Hanson and Phelps in P10 at the moment. As we see the race starting to bed into a nice rhythm now. The drivers are warmed up, ready to go. They are feeling more comfortable. Foster is closing the gap on the leader, so he is slowly pulling himself up to his teammate of Karen Walden. And gotta wonder, will Foster be the first one to pit next time round, I wonder, and try and leapfrog himself back in front of his teammate for this race? We'll find out as this race goes on. They are in that point now where they can come into pit lane and make it home on fuel. They are in the point now where they can come in any time and come out and make it home on the fuel. But a caution can throw a spanner in the works, of course, for any of those drivers. Pitting too early could really throw it out for some of these guys. So we'll have to see how that one pans out. But I think if we see a few of those cars in the around P3 to P7 coming in the next 3 or so laps, I think we'll see responses to that. I think people are going to cover them off rather than stick it out there and lose positions. I've got to say, at the moment, looking at something like Norman and Clark, might be worth jumping into pit lane for him with in the next 2 or 3 laps, getting those fresh tyres, trying that undercut to try and make a couple of positions up. He could possibly find himself up there in the top 5 in this race if he comes in early and nobody else pits. Of course, it could all not pay off. It's that gambling, that gamble you take. And if that gamble's worked, it could pay off for him. If it doesn't, then it could lose him a lot of time. The lap times are still pretty steady here tonight as well. They're all sort of setting similar laps towards the front. The front 2 are still the fastest by a good couple of tenths every lap. The Atari boys are very much on it at the moment. Schultz is doing a good job keeping that car in. Same as Mckenzie. A lot of damage on that car at the moment. He's having a good run. He is coming under pressure from Adam Malone, who has got a relatively clean front end of his car and rear end. Sorry, that's Koch. Sorry. Person. Adam Malone's a little bit further back. He's coming under pressure from Norman Clark, I should say. So Norman Clark, we saw, had that first caution, that first spin, just as that car snapped on him. A relatively clean car as well, so he should be in a decent position here as Malone's got a bit of damage. Clark gets a really nice run off the front stretch here, goes down to the inside and makes the move. But E number 6, Malone needs to tick on the outside here, use that momentum to swing himself off the corner and try and get a run down here. See if he can get a run off the straight and get a good run down to the next set of corners. Keep in the lead of Clark, but it doesn't look like he's got the car underneath him to do it. Clark gets up a position up into P6.
That was a beautiful move. Just took his time and worked that car into the position to take that position off him.
Pretty much a textbook move there. That's if you ever want to see do it, that is the way you want to do it. It's a nice little run there. Very, no major risks taken, no extreme movements or anything like that. Just nice and easy, calm momentum around the car. easily done. And as they were doing that, they were, I think, they were just going, it's just getting that car in the right place at the right time, and they did that perfectly. Just getting that slingshot to work for him as well. Very beautiful overtake, very nice. So, who are we going to see blink first in the top 7? Only 7 cars on the lead lap now, as Brenton Henderson is the first car a lap down. Would be the lucky dog if a caution comes out, of course. But who's going to be the first in that pack to come into pit lane, I wonder? You've got to say, personally, if I'm in that group, I'd be thinking about coming down pit road relatively shortly, and it's Schultz Mckenzie. So, they're using my strategy, so I feel sorry for both of those guys. But yeah, this is what I would be looking at. Coming in earlier, trying that undercut, seeing if I can make a pace advantage over the rest of the guys. Now, will we see Malone, Clark, Billion, or any of those cars coming into pit lane to try and cover them off now? Because that's what they sort of need to do to keep that position. Unless there's a caution. If they get a caution, it's all going to be thrown out the window. They're going to lose a lot of time. They're going to lose a lot of positions. Whereas the rest of the drivers will be sitting pretty. Of course, they will go down a lap as well, I think. So they will fall down a lap here. As Malone comes in. So he's decided he's going to come in as well. Not going to risk it staying out there. So will we see who in the top 4?
Oh, and he's overshot his pit. Adam actually overshot his pit there, trying to get in on the cement.
Big mistake there. Just locked up those tyres by the look, locked up those brakes by the looks of it, and that's what we were talking about earlier with these new brake packages. You have to be so careful with them. It's so easy to overshoot your box, and that's going to be costly in a green flag stop. Look, missing your box at any time in a race is costly, but doing it in a green flag stop costs you so much more time, adds to those seconds. It really does hurt. So, for instance, to give you an idea of how much that cost him, for a regular stop for Aidan Schultz, it was 38.8 seconds in lane. For Adam Malone, it was 44 seconds. That is a huge amount of time to lose. And you kick yourself for that. As somebody's gone off. Who is that? McClintock has had a huge moment. Managed to keep it going. Has a huge moment as that back end just steps out from nowhere. We've seen this so many times tonight. When did McClintock just pit? He's just come out on fresh tyres. So his tyres are very fresh, and that's exactly what we've seen so many times tonight on those fresh tyres.
Oh,
the caution flag is out. Caution flag is out for Brett Campbell. And I think it's a similar thing for Campbell. He has relatively 6 laps on those tyres, just gets up on the high side, gets on the marbles, and all of a sudden the rear end steps out. He catches the wall, fence catches him, has a big moment, slaps it across the track, manages to avoid everybody, has a huge off-though, and that brings out the caution, and that throws out those early stoppers. That will affect them dearly, as they are now effectively a lap off the lead. This works out perfectly for Walden, Foster, Billion, and Clark. Norman Clark has just paid off for him perfectly. 4 cars on the lead lap. Those 4 will be able to pit under caution, save themselves a lot of time. Brent Henson will be the lucky dog, so he will get his lap back. But those guys that stopped will be a lap down now. And that's exactly what we're talking about, is just taking that risk of those fresh tyres. And as I said, using my technique is probably not the best one, as this is the kind of thing that would happen to me if I pitted early.
Yeah, you definitely. We've so late in the race, it was definitely worth sticking out there and trying to see if there's a caution from the guys pitting, and it's definitely paid off for those top 4.
And Brent Henderson as well. He is going to get that lucky dog, as I say, and that is it's a bit of a godsend for him. He's going to get back on the lead lap. Of course, we'll have to come into pit lane, of course, and stop and be at the back of the pack, but he will have a nice gap over the cars behind him. So into pit lane we come. It's all about hitting those marks, getting in the right spot now, not taking time in pit road. JCW overshoots his pit box. Carroll Walden misses his box. That's going to cost him time. That's going to help Foster out. He had a little bit of a gap over Foster, but will it be enough to save him in pit lane after that mistake? Everybody else looks like they made their marks absolutely perfectly. Foster is away. Carroll Walden is away. He has managed to just keep that position, I think, over Foster, who was right at the back of the pack.
I'm just going to go back and have a look at that and just see if Josh took 2 tyres or 4.
I think he took 2. I think he only took. I think he only took right sides. No, he took all 4.
He took all 4. So unless he's short filled, yeah.
Because it's saying his stop was only 14 seconds on my. Oh, that might be because of the miss. Foster had a long stop, actually. Foster had a really. What happened to Foster in his stop? Because he had an incredibly long stop. So I've come back to have a look at that one.
I think you'll probably find that Ed was almost out of fuel, probably right down. I'm not sure how many laps had he done on that tank.
It was getting towards 30 something. So it wasn't in the dangers. It was very much they were on a similar strategy. Foster stayed out a couple of laps longer last time around as well. So on my timing screen, Foster was in pit lane for 45.8 seconds. JCW 39 seconds. Carroll Walden's stop was about 15 seconds. Foster was 22 seconds. So he had a really long stop for some reason. So I don't know what's going on there. I couldn't see anything. Sort of gone back and had a little look at it, and I couldn't see anything obvious. The only thing I can think is maybe he had some damage or something that he wanted to get repaired, and that's the only thing I can think of, really.
Yeah, maybe that's what it was. A quick repair, some duct tape here and there.
Yeah. But it doesn't look like there's a mark on that car either. It's a really odd one. I'm wondering if. Yeah, very odd, that one. I'm just having a flick back through some other stops and just seeing if I can work out what happened. But nothing obvious, so it's a bit of a weird one. But we are getting ready to go back to green flag racing. 31 laps remaining here tonight for the Apple. My brain is bugged.
Blossom 300.
Thank you. We are away once more, and it's Carroll Walden in the lead over Foster with Norman Clark. It's an Atari 1-2-3 Theon in 4th position. Mark Smith managed to get back on the lead lap, but he's going to have to stop soon. Aidan Schultz, of course, has got his lap back. He is on the lead lap again, but he is a bit further behind on those slightly older tyres, and he's having to make his way for a lot of cars as well. So they're having to side their way through the field, and somebody's gone off in the background. Who is that? They've just managed to save it, have they?
Yeah, it looks like it's Brett Campbell
again. Brett Campbell again. Fishtailing it down. Keep it going, Brett, keep it going. He's managed to save it. No, he's lost it. Yeah, will we get a caution? I think he's just managed to save that and not get a caution flag out.
Yeah, he's going again.
That was a long, deep breath of will that not make it? And there was about 6 times there where it wasn't making it. So that's a good job it did. But somebody else isn't going to make it. That is a car around in the background. Who was that going around? Greg Spence has gone around, and that is the caution. So that was Greg Spencer there, just losing that car. It on the sort of, he's down on the low line. He's lost it coming into turn one. So he's had a bit of a loss in the beginning of the turn. Mid corner again, that car stepped out. He almost saves it, and then all of a sudden he's got on the grass, and that car has just gone flickety flick, snaked it around, and that has really hurt him. The people that as this has helped though, people like Aidan Schultz, Darren Mckenzie, Adam Malone, and Ruben Phelps as well. Ruben Phelps is on the same strategy as the leaders. Schultz and Mckenzie both on tyres that are about 10 laps older, same as Malone. So those guys are on a similar strategy. Those three are on a similar strategy. Mark Smith, he's going to need to come into pit lane this time round, but that worked out perfectly for him because he's up there with those leaders. So he should be coming into pit lane, I think, this time round, and he'll just be in a very nice spot for this restart on the freshest tyres off the field. The old cautions breeding cautions. I say it a lot, and motorsport commentators say it a lot as well, but it is very true, unfortunately.
It looks like Adam Schultz has docked into the pits too.
Yeah, Schultz has come into pit lane as well as Mckenzie. So they're coming in, I reckon, just to get a few repairs done as well. So they're going to get a little bit more duct tape slapped onto the front of that car. Somebody with a hammer out there to tack away and see if they can make it look a little bit better. A couple of bits of 100-mile-per-hour tape on there as well. And some fresh tyres as well for the end of this race. So, not a bad strategy for them. And obviously with that damage as well, they're on the lead lap, so they're not going to lose anything coming in, really. It's just going to help improve their chances for the rest of this race.
Yeah, Aidan's taken 4 tyres. Stevie Dubb's taken 4 tyres and fuel. Going back and see what Darren
Mackenzie's taken 4 as well.
Yeah.
So from the looks of timing on there, it's a 4-tyre stop. So that would be about right for that. So interesting, nice little move there for them, of course. But we've seen. I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing in all this, because it seems like the longer you've got these tyres on, the better they become. So Adam Malone might be in a bot seat at the moment on some of the slightly older tyres, only by 5 laps, but slightly older than the rest of the field. They might have a little bit of better heat soak through them and work a little bit better for him. But those that front group is going to be. This is exactly what the Atari sort of didn't want, because they've lost that nice big lead they had of about 20 seconds. But they should be able to pull away. It's going to be a nice clean road in front of them. They'll just try and pull away from the rest of them, of course. It's helped their teammate Norman Clark catch up to him. So he'll be starting just behind Foster on the restart next to Billion, just on the outside there. There's 077 having a fantastic race tonight. And again, one of the only clean cars out there as well. He has got barely a scratch on it. A few little bits of, few little specks of rubber on the car, but nothing untoward. As the pack shuffles away like a Vegas magician at the moment to get themselves in the right spots for this restart on lap 26. Sorry, on lap 26, on lap 124 even. If it was lap 26, this is going to be a very long night indeed. But as
we'll run out of time.
Yeah, that's it. I think we'll just go home. But a big shout out to Custom Paints and Diecast, Track Racer, of course, Goodyear, Auto Care, Warren, and Sipshed Broadcasting, our sponsors for keeping the Weekend Warriors running and giving us this fantastic broadcast tonight. It is going to be a nail biter. Get ready for this finish. We are going to have a 26-lap sprint to the end. The pace car will soon peel its way into pit road. It's going to be JCW leading away, an Atari charge at the front. Will they be able to get all 3 cars in the top 3 tonight? Will Van Bulen get his car up there and break their hearts? Or will we see a surprise from Aidan Schultz, Adam Malone, or Darren Mckenzie? Don't count out Mark Smith or Ruben Phelps in this one. Good start from JCW. Leaves it a bit later this time. Gets a good jump over the rest of the field and slots it up in front of his teammates there. causing a nice little bit of a draft up on that high line. Should help pull them along a little bit, and they're going to try and get a little bit of a head of steam now. Try and get out in front, as it looks like
Oh,
Schultz
three
has
wide.
gone 3 wide here. Schultz going down the middle. He's seen what's happening. He does not want this to happen. He pulls it 3 wide here. Pulls in behind Van Bullion and is keeping it there. 3 wide for a moment on that restart. Always a scary moment. It is a battle for second place at the moment, and Schultz is desperate to try and keep in this one. Tries for that midline, doesn't make it work at the moment. He pulls himself back up there. All the cars are pretty much through the corners. They've managed to get through on this first lap on those cold tyres. But it is Van Bullion in third place at the moment, getting a good run on the low side. Clark on the high side. Schultz is really pushing with Malone as well. Malone is getting a flyer too. Schultz getting a really good run there through the corner, getting up through there, and he's going to get a nice run on Van Bullion as well. Will he be able to make it work? Not quite. That damage on the front of the car maybe costing him a little bit of time once he gets into the clean air, but he has got his teammate of Adam Malone there as well to help him out. Clark just falling back a little bit on that restart. Meanwhile, Carol Walden is in the lead over Foster at the moment.
So at 20 to go, I'm going to ask you, Carl, who's your money on?
I don't want to curse anybody. I'm going to go Mark Johansson.
There's always next week for me. Aidan just got a bit of a tail up there, bit of a squirrel.
He gave that wall a little bit of a kiss there, I think, and maybe scraped a little bit of paint off there. A Darlington strike here at Michigan. Not what you want to have happen. Oh, again, a big moment. Just managed to save that one. Really struggling off the corner there, and we've seen it so many times with these cars. Foster, meanwhile, has got a good run up in the front. Him and Van Bullion really getting a nice run on JCW at the moment. As Schultz is up in the wall, I think. No, it's Malone.
Adam Malone.
He is up in the wall on those marbles. He manages to absolutely scooch it around there somehow. He does not lose the car. Good control from him. Good save on that one. That could have been a nasty wreck.
And again, Carl, I'd say that's a cold tyres. Not having any heat in the tyres and just getting that push coming off the turn.
You've got to wonder if that slight change in the tyre sizes and things like that has made a difference to the warming up, the heating process, the warming up process, and they take a few laps to just sink in, a few laps more to sink in, I guess, than we're used to, and it's catching a lot of drivers out. Yeah,
the Gen 6 seem to come on around lap 2, lap 3. These seem to be coming on about laps 5 or 6. So there's probably 3 or 4 laps difference in getting the heat into the tyres.
It's that weird thing of almost being a bit like the old, bit like the open wheelers and things like that, where it takes a long time just to get that warmth into the tyre, and as soon as it kicks in, it's fine. But up to that stage, it's almost like driving on ice. You just got to be so careful of that car, so gentle of it. And then once it settles in, you're fine. But those early stages, you just got to be really, really cautious. And I think it's caught a lot of drivers out because obviously stock car racing is, you don't have time to be cautious. If you're cautious, you're going to lose, 10, 20 spots in a matter of seconds, or you're going to have a big accident.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely not something you want to be on the receiving end of, that's for sure.
No, as we've got a good run up at the front again. Foster just sitting behind his teammate, and you see Bullion just sitting there as well. He is a great runner. Schultz is just holding back there. That car looks a little bit second-hand. I mean, I imagine if you took that back to the rental company, they would slap you with a nice big bill. But he's making it work at the moment as Foster makes a run for the lead, gets down on the inside and makes the pass. Foster taking the lead. And look at Van Bullion. He is trying to get that position as well. Schultz losing the rear end. Is he going to run up into the wall? He manages just to save it. Very good car control from Schultz there in the mid-corner. He almost lost that one. But Foster has taken over the lead from Carol Walden now. It is an Atari 1-2 still, but it has swapped around the 53 ahead of the 35.
I know there's one person in the background that won't be happy like me. I'm not liking this. The top 5 covered off by taxis.
It's dreadful, isn't it? There's not a single lovely Toyota to be seen out there at the moment.
I think the last Toyota had a motor expire, wasn't it?
We've still got one out there. Still got one. Still got Adam Ariel out there. He's repping the brand well, and it's still going. So that says a lot. It does have a tissue box on the back seat, but it is still going. The good old rivalry of which car comes into the wall again. A big check that time. That lost him a lot of time. That's given Norman Clark a nice run on him. Schultz lost a lot of momentum in that smack, and that really hurt him. Not so much, it's still got pace possibly, but that momentum really cost him. Norman Clark couldn't quite make the move happen, but Schultz has fallen off the back of Billion there, and that's going to hurt for the rest of this race. Good news though for Notorious. They've only got one car to look in the rear for at the moment. As who's that on the grass? That was Darren Mckenzie, I think, just having a bit of a moment crossing the lawn and just giving it a quick mow in his Mustang lawnmower. The world's fastest lawnmower here, Darren Mckenzie, just deciding he just saw a bit of grass that was just needing a little bit of a clip here. Just makes a slight error, just goes down a little bit, gives it a little bit of a runoff and manages to save it. Very well done, because that would have been an almighty crash if it happened. Van Billion all over the back of JCW at the moment. He is trying his best to get past. He is really, really costing this group a little bit of time as well. And that's helped Schultz catch back up to them. Don't forget Clark is sitting there too. Norman Clark just sitting at the back of this, watching on, waiting to see what happens. A mistake from any of these drivers and he will be there to pounce. As JTW runs out a little bit wide here, he's going to try and get a run off the corner. He might get a little bit better speed down the straight, but Bullion's using that side draft to his advantage. Will he be able to get up to P2 here? He's got a good run on JCW. The 077 is moving up. He's got the inside line at the moment. Gonna go in a little bit later. Carol Walden just having a bit of a blink. Manages to come back to this reality. Just decided to transport himself to a different dimension. But everything is okay. Schultz into the wall again. Schultz is making sure that those barriers are as safe as possible and testing out their integrity every lap at the moment. But he is managing to keep pace somehow.
I was going to say to JP, don't show the right side of that car. Whatever you do, I don't think there's much paint left on it. I think it's all aluminium.
If you want to see what the next gen car looks like without any panels.
Oh, that is close.
So close there, side by side. Schultz, Billion, they're really close stuff. Billion on the outside, he has been pushed wide, and that could cost him a little bit of time. He has a bit of a moment, and he's fallen back to fourth. Schultz on an absolute run now. Somehow, I think just from pure rage and determination, Schultz is getting pace out of this car, because it is definitely not the aero that's doing it.
No, definitely not. Well, then again, maybe that's the trick. Maybe you bash the right side of the car a few times, make it a little bit pointier at the front, and a better windbreak.
Well, it is a Ford, so that would explain a lot. That run up here at the front, but the Mustangs are absolutely dominating at the moment. Without any other brand to be seen until we get back to Mark Smith, I think, back in 8th position. So it is very much a night to be in a stallion, and they are at it side by side again as they come across the checkered line for Schultz and Milligan. Those two are battling it out, and this time the 077 has managed to get back ahead. He is going to be running up there. He's running low on laps now to get up to fight the top two. Only 11 to go in this race. We are getting to the tail end of tonight as all JCW gets a little bit loose off the exit of turn number 2. Has a big moment, has to save that one. Will have had to lift off, lost a bit of momentum, and that's going to give Bullion the chance to make the move. He goes down the inside. Aiden Schultz looking to make it 3 wide here again, giving us some great entertainment. Bullion getting a nice run off the inside here. They're going to be side by side. Will he have enough room to get up in front of JCW? Doesn't quite have the run yet. That high side tends to get better momentum off the corner. through the corner itself at low side will have a bit of a better run, but you just got to be careful not to scrub up the lanes too much. JCW coming down to defend. He comes in front to block off Bullion. Very nice defensive move there from the 35. Manages to keep it behind just for another lap, but this is giving Foster the chance to break away a little bit.
So now that we're inside the 10 to go, all bets are off. Anything goes. You can move to block. You can, so long as you only move to once. So it's going to be on. Oh.
So a lot of ooze in the commentary booth there. As we all take a deep breath. I don't think there was actually any contact there at all. There might have been a tiny bit of net code in it, but that was so close between JCW and Van Bullion. That was real close stuff. And I think maybe there was a tiny bit of net code touch there, unfortunately. But that was very close. And now Schultze has got an absolute charge on. And you just Norman Clark's just sitting back there, just going, I will just sit here and rub my hands and watch on with this race and wait for you guys to have a moment, and then I will do all of my work. As he does that, he gets a good run down the straight here. As Norman Clark gets a good run on Bullion. Will he be able to get up into P4 right now? He's trying down on the low line.
I don't know if that was a touch or just aero wash.
Again, so close. It's that thing of just being so very close to each other. We've got a little bit of that aero wash coming in, but I think that was contact there. Just a little bit of a nudge from Schultz into the back of JCW. A little bit of argy-bargy here. And as they say, guys, rubbing is racing. Rubbing is racing in NASCAR. Not always on the rear bumper, though. Side by side's a little bit easier to handle. Good save by JCW, though. To keep that one in the straight line, because that was almost a big turnaround.
If they'd have turned around, it would have taken out all four of those guys, and it wouldn't have been pretty.
Well, that would have been a big one as JCW makes a move on his teammate now. It's, who's that in the background?
Oh, Schultze.
Schultz and Van Bullion there goes down and does not have the room, and there is contact between those two. They managed to keep it straight, no caution here, but that has given Wayne Van Bullion the chance for P3 at the moment. Can Norman Clark run up there? The battle is still on at the front though. The Atari drivers are fighting side by side. Schultz has dropped off this pack now. He is going to be falling back, and without a car in front of him to help it reduce that aero damage, I think he's going to struggle to keep up with the rest of this pack. So, we've got the battle for first, second, and the battle for third and fourth at the moment. Who is going to come out on top here? It is anybody's race, you've got to say.
Now, Cole, I know that there's no team orders between Edward and JCW, so they will be racing for the win between the two of them.
I think the only team order I remember from those two at Daytona for ANSCAR the other week was, if you're leading me, JCW, I will wreck you. Those are the kind of team orders you get. And the JCW into the wall and catches Van Buren. Disaster! Disaster for the top four. Disaster for Van Bullion. He had nowhere to go. Gets caught out from JCW there, who goes into the side of him. He just gets caught unlucky as he bounces off the wall and then gets turned. That is horrible luck for the driver that was having a great run up there. We'll go back and get that on the replay. So JCW runs up the track, hits the wall there, and then bounces down. And unfortunately, Wayne Van Bullion has nowhere to go there. Just really a passenger in that accident. I think Norman Clark made it through unscathed somehow. That was a close call for Norman. He has absolutely had the closest of shaves there. Joshua Carroll-Walden has got no nose on that car. He's got a lot of damage on that vehicle now. That's changed things up. We've only got 4 laps remaining. That's really made an interesting addition to this race, but a disaster there. And you've got to feel for the 077 there as well. Just really nowhere to go. Nothing you can do in that situation.
Yeah, just having a look at that car, Carl. He's still rotating. So we just have to wait and see what type of speed he's going to have in the car.
Yeah, luckily it wasn't a huge hit on the front of that thing, so he's not got too much damage. He's coming into pit lane with everybody else though, so you can get a couple of quick repairs done. Obviously, can get a few little bits of chucked over a couple of bits and bobs there. They're all going to get 4 sets of tyres, I'd imagine. We might see somebody try the old right side only strategy, see if it works out. But you've got to say at the moment, it's all 4 tyres is probably the best way to go. These cars are probably a bit of a handful just with rights only. And it looks like indeed, from what I can see, everybody taking 4 sets of tyres.
Yeah, that was good of Darren. He's been able to jump Van Binion.
I think we've pronounced it about 400 different times tonight, Mark, so that's all right. I was hoping we'd get him in the top 3 so I could interview him and make sure I can pronounce his name correctly next time. Von Billion. Billion. Thank you, JP. See, this is why I need a producer in my ear to tell me how to pronounce people's names correctly. Pronunciation, not my strongest suit. So it is Foster in the lead. Norman Clark in second. Aidan Schultz in third. After that moment, Darren Mckenzie fourth. Van Billion in 5th position. Adam Malone in 6th. Phelps in 7th. 8th for Mark Smith. Patterson in 9th. And I think JCW might still be in 5th. Yeah, he's still. Yeah. So he will. He's just coming out to make sure he stays on the lead lap. But there's a lot of damage on that car, so he's going to be struggling a little bit. But he might be able to just sneak that one into at least the top 13 or top 12 in this race. So we'll see how that one goes. 2 laps to go, of course. It's going to be a run to the finish now, and it's going to be a sprint. So this is going to get juicy and tasty, of course. It comes down to this final little sprint to the end. Who are we going to see taking out the race win tonight? It's tricky to call.
It's going to be gloves off, that's for sure. It's no holds barred. Yeah, when we go past what we'll have 2 to go, it'll be basically a green-white checker almost.
Yeah. I was going to ask, do we have green-white checkers?
Yes, we've got 2 of them, mate.
Yeah. So, yeah, of course, if anything happens to pull that white flag, get that green-white checker fucking out. I'm going to go Aidan Schultz, I think. That aggression that he's had is, I think he's just going to really go for it, despite having a car that is probably got less value than a scrapper. But Natari get away nicely. Good launch for Foster on the low line. Good launch for Clark on the outside. He's going to try and slow it down in front of Schultz there, and he does indeed. So it is Foster in the lead with Norman Clark in 2nd place at the moment. Aidan Schultz in 3rd. Mckenzie in 4th. Aidan Schultz tries for that low line. Got to be careful on these cars now. They're still on cold tyres. Remember, it's easy to make a mistake on these things. On this cold tyre. How will they go, though? They are going well. It looks like they're all making it through at the moment. Foster has got away cleanly with Clark just behind him. That's going to help a little bit, just give him a little bit of a rear guard action, and Clark will be desperate to fight for that 2nd place as well. As we come across the line with the white flag flying, it is Foster in the lead over Clark and Schultz. Will Schultz try for the dive down the inside? Will we see Clark hold off? He goes to the outside. Schultz goes round the outside this time. Schultz makes a big dive there. Will Clark have the run off the corner? Gets a good exit off there. Foster trying to help him out a little bit hip and shoulder down the front, the back straight between the 2. Foster moves up to take the line for the final set of corners, goes through there. It's going to be a battle and a drag race for 2nd place at the moment between Clark and Schultz. Clark on the inside, Schultz on the outside. Who is going to get P2? It looks like Schultz has got a good run off the corner at the moment. Somebody having a big moment behind, but who's going to come home second? Foster takes the win. Schultz comes home second with Clark in third. Darren Mckenzie comes home fourth. Adam Malone fifth. Sixth for Phelps. Carol Walden manages to get home seventh, missing most of his car. Van Ullian comes home in eighth. Ninth for Mark Smith. And 10th for Patterson. What a classic finish there. That was great racing towards the end. James Schultz just aggressive all the way through that. And that aggression paid off towards the end. Manages to get up into P2 for that race. Despite all of the damage on that car. Very well done indeed. And just go back to look, because there was somebody that had a... Mark Smith just lost a couple of positions, unfortunately, towards the line as his back end stepped out as they came to the finish line. He made it home across the grass and did get a top 10 finish at least, but it was very nearly tears for him as the Natari car of Foster, the 53, is out there celebrating away and, as usual, doing the donuts of glory for this race. Oh, JP, what a race we had there.
Yeah, as expected, last 10 laps it was on.
Yeah, those final laps and that late cautions, of course, really spiced things up. So let's go through the finishing order one last time tonight. So it was Foster, the 53, taking the victory over the 52 of Schultz, the 09 of Norman Clark in third, then Darren Mckenzie fourth, fifth for Adam Malone, Ruben Phelps in sixth, seventh for JCW Joshua Hamilton, Wayne Van Bill in eighth, ninth for Mark Smith, Patterson in 10th. Then we move down to 11th place for Greg Spencer, Tristan Koch in 12th, 13th for Brenton Henderson, 14th for Jimmy Nankervis, 16th for Scott McClintock, 16th for Devon Stove, 17th for Steve Williams, Kobe Jordan in 18th, 19th for Brett Campbell. Brad Allison comes home 20th, 21st for Adam Ariel, after losing his screen early in the race. Good job to avoid an incident. Justin Allen came home 22nd, 23rd for Trevethan, Micklemore 24th, 25th for Johansson, Brady 26th, 27th for Wheeler, Patton the final of the runners in 28th, which did not make the start. An absolute classic race there, and what we love to see in oval racing, just great stuff on track, some real close racing. We saw battles side by side, a little bit of rubbing here and there, a few little touch-ups, a lot of good close racing though, and a lot of it was clean.
It definitely was, mate. There was real good racing through there. Well done to Natari. Well done to Ed to open the season with a win, and some hard luck stories there. You know, some innocent bystanders that, you know, as it happens when accidents happen, tracks get blocked and these things, and some people had nowhere to go and got caught up in some unfortunate accidents.
Yeah, very much so. Some good recovery drives tonight, though, as well. And that's one of the, I think that's going to be the story of the race, is some of those recovery drives tonight. That he did some fantastic work to get back up onto the lead lap and back into the top 10 as well. A few people that looked like their races were run, but then managed to surprise us by getting all the way back up the field as well. Biggest gainer of the night is the winner as well. 27 positions for Edward Foster, starting way towards the back. That decision not to qualify paid off for him. Adam Malone as well, 21 positions gained in the race. And a good run for him, working their way nicely through the field.
Well, it looks like our top three are in the green room, so we might pull Norman up first and have a chat with him. Or sorry, yes, no.
Yeah.
Norman was third, so we'll pull him up into the green room and from the green room and have a chat. Good evening, Norman. Nice, good run there for you.
Hey, Mark. Yeah, it was pretty good. Good fun for a change. Yeah.
Some hard racing there towards the end. Was there any touches there between you and Aidan on that last lap?
No, we didn't touch it all. It was absolutely clean. I thought I was going to hold him off, but I think he was better than me. But I thought, I could maybe hold him off, but then it wasn't to be. I think he just got me over the line. There was good racing, good clean racing, and yeah, it was enjoyable.
So Carl and I have been talking all through the race about these cars. What are your thoughts on these new next gen cars?
Well, they're good. They're sort of like a driver's car. You have to be wake up to drive the bloody thing. And I mean, it's still catching me out every now and then. But you've just got to be a little bit patient with it, I think, and keep some really good focus and good concentration. Just keep it under control. I like them. I think they're better than last year's car. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. Carl's just gone quiet for a minute. Anything you'd like to ask, JP? Okay. All right, Norm. Well, congratulations on third spot. Just before we let you go, anyone you'd like to thank?
Yeah, well, first of all, thank you guys for putting it on, and all the other guys that took part to make it a good race of it. And then, of course, our sponsors, AJD and Fully Flawed Limited. And, of course, Ed and Joshy for being the good teammates they are and keeping us in our toes. For the change, I out-qualified Ed.
Yeah, for a little while there, we thought it was going to be an Atari a shutout. So, unfortunately, that JCW just got loose towards the end there, and got turned around.
Yes, yeah, that was a bit of an unfortunate thing. I still had a little bit in reserve. I started to make a move with 7 or 8 laps to go, make a bit of pressure there and aid in them. But then the caution came out. So, yeah, we may have had a 1, 2, 3. But otherwise, it was a good race. And, yeah, thanks to all who took part.
Yeah. So, one thing before we let you go, are you looking at doing the whole series or just a race when you can?
No, I am looking at doing the whole series.
Well, hopefully we get to talk to you a few more times, and maybe for a second or first place, Norman. You played a good waiting game there tonight.
Yes, thanks for that, Mark. It's taken me long enough. I've never had a win. I mean, I've won a couple of other races and things, but not here with Ansgar or with Weekend Warriors or so on. So, yeah, a win would be nice.
Yeah. I'll just see Carl come back. Anything you'd like to ask, Carl?
No, covered it all, Max. Congratulations on the top 3 in Holland.
Yeah, thanks for that, Carl. Thanks for doing the commentary as well, mate.
Always a pleasure.
All right, Norman, we'll see you next week at Las Vegas.
Yes, good one. Okay, Mark, see you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Sky. All right, we'll drag up Mr. Schultz and get a few comments from him, mate.
Cool thing.
Hello, Aidan.
Good evening, Marcus. How are you, mate?
Good, mate. Good. Congratulations. Second place.
Yeah, thanks, mate. It was a tough night in the office, but starting out a pole after a few incidents tonight. Happy to come home with the P2.
Yeah, Carl and I were watching you there towards the end of that run, and you were definitely giving the safety barrier a workout.
Well, mate, yeah, I still finished 0x, surprisingly. Yeah, mate, you got to use the whole racetrack. That's what it's there for. But the racing between the top 3 there, top 4 at the end, that was sensational racing. It took 150-odd laps to get there, but it was great racing at the end. It was good.
Do you finish 0x when you haven't got any paddles left on your car?
No idea, mate. That's iRacing at its finest. That's iRacing at its finest. But yeah, 0x, surprisingly enough.
That's unbelievable, isn't it, Carl?
Yeah, that's got me shocked.
Yeah, the funny thing was, boys, is it didn't lose the pace. It did not lose the pace. So I don't know what the car looked like from a broadcast perspective. It looked like my front right was a bit crumpled, but the car felt all right. I got my head around it after about 100 laps, even though I put it on pole. And from a race perspective, me and Darren sitting back there in 3rd and 4th, during that sort of mid-race thing, we were losing a lot to JC Dub and Ed, but then got my head around it. We got fresh tyres on, and then we were able to fight. And yeah, it was a good end to the race anyway. Hope it looked good up on the broadcast booth.
I have to ask you quickly. So what happened in the first caution?
This is funny. I was just talking to Ed about that. So I was streaming it, right, as I do streaming, and I'm leading under the caution, and I was too busy talking to someone on my stream, and I'm looking at my phone, and I didn't look, and I just went straight up into the fence. And I'm like, really, Aiden, were you leading? You just put it in the fence. Good job, mate.
That's what it is. So, see, this is why you should never text and drive, kids.
Well, I wasn't
Exactly
texting. I just looked off the screen, like looked away for a moment, and I was in the fence. But anyway, I'm glad it didn't hurt my race that bad. But it's not the way I wanted to start about 10 or 11 laps in, I'll tell you.
Definitely not a way to start the season. We actually thought the race may have been done for you there.
Mate, you just got to keep keeping on. You'd never know what happens in these long races, and yeah, keep going. We had the 52 car was quick tonight. We didn't really worry about pace. I was pretty comfortable. I learned a lot from Car on Thursday night, albeit a different track, different setup, but haven't done a lot in the next gens, and yeah, learn a lot. So it was good to sort of adapt across the 150 laps and to be able to get up there in a podium. But big shout out to Norm as well. That was a good run at the end there for P2 and 3.
Yep. Okay, before we let you go, anyone you'd like to thank, mate?
Mate, of course, Southern Stars Esports Racing. All the boys there, they were there in the air, tuning in, just giving us a little bit of not pointers, but just in the air. Of course, Mish's XL Garage, SkyPoint, all the people involved in the Southern Stars Esports Racing. Of course, Weekend Warriors, the Australian Stock Car Championship, for putting it on. SimShed Broadcasting for providing an awesome broadcast. I can't wait to go back and watch that back. But just thanks to everyone involved. A big congratulations too to Ed on the win and Norman on third tonight. So yeah, thanks guys.
No worries. Thanks very much for joining us in the booth, mate.
No worries at all. Have a good night.
Yeah, we'll see you next week at Vegas.
I'll be there.
All right, Carl. I guess we should bring up the winner of the race in round one, Mr. Ed Foster, opening round winner. Well done, Ed, on the race win.
Thanks a lot.
So, the towards the end there, you and your teammate, any team orders, or was it the normal one? Race and get in front of me and I'll fix you.
Well, it was towards the end there when we got that late caution, because obviously JCW and I were, miles out the front. What we were going to try and do is sort of line up, try to gap the cars behind, and then with about 5 to go, we'd say, right, race on, and we'd start doing it. But we weren't able to drop them, so we'd been able to do it earlier in the race, but they obviously figured something out during the race because we couldn't drop them after that. So I felt like I was getting held up a little bit. Josh made a very small little mistake. I said, I've got to run. I'll lead and see how we can go, see if we can pull away. Still weren't able to do anything about him. And that's when Josh has come on the radio and says, hey, we can't gap him. Let's just start racing. So we did. And that's when you saw him dive to the inside there, and we kind of fought a little bit and everything. And from then, of course, I had to focus a little bit more because I had another enemy back there and no friends. And then unfortunately he hit the wall, and then from there it was just a case of when Norman slotted into second place, trying to pull him along in the draft and trying to help him out and maybe get that second place. But no, he got around the outside in the end, so we'll have to take the 1-3.
Yeah, you come very close to 1, 2, 3, and you've got to be happy with the top 5 all being Mustangs too. Unfortunately for us Chevy drivers.
Look, I think under the Gen 6, we didn't have, certainly across in Anscar, we didn't have a lot of Mustangs getting a lot of love. So when the new car came along, we thought, we'll change it up, and obviously running them here too. So yeah, it's good to see a few more out there because it was a bit of an unloved car there for a while.
Yeah, it seems like the Toyota's the unloved car this year.
Yeah, Ellie wants to drive a Camry, mate.
Someone in the room might, in the booth, might have something to say about that.
Oh well.
It's gone qualified, Ed. So your decision to start at the back of the grid, was that sort of decision you sort of wanted to keep out of trouble early, or were you just thinking of other strategy calls?
No, that's because I crashed twice in qualifying.
Ah, okay, well, that'll definitely do it.
Yeah. First time I've actually done that, I reckon in at least a year, maybe more, where I've just managed to screw up both qualifying laps. You kind of, the first one I wasn't even really trying. I was trying to run the first lap around the top, and I grazed the wall there, so that killed that one. And then the second one, I went out there and I had to, deliver on the cold tires and everything. I screwed that one up as well. So ended up starting absolutely dead last. But with all the cautions that happened early in the race, just able to sort of like gain the positions that way. And before we knew it, I'm sitting there in like P9 or something. And all of a sudden, all the hard work was done for me. So yeah, it wasn't as difficult as I thought it was going to be.
Very well done to work your way up through the field. 27 positions gained at the battle, so not a bad night's work. All in all.
Yeah, look, I mean, as I say, a lot of those positions were done for me, but yeah, definitely once you start to get amongst the guys at the front, you've got to get that done. There are a few guys that are really quick. Obviously, JCW is really fast. Evan Stove was really fast. I'm not sure what happened with Mckenzie. He looked really quick, but like he seemed to kind of come up and down a little bit. Yeah, a couple of the other guys got sort of saved by the bell when that late caution came out because we were about to put a whole bunch of guys another lap down. So yeah, but either way, it turned out the way it turned out. Another day it might have been different, but worked out for us today.
Yeah, it definitely did work out well. So is I know you've got some sponsors you'd like to thank, so we'll let you thank your sponsors, mate.
Yeah, HAD Australia and Fully Flawed. They're new. Both of them are new with us this year. So yeah, really cool to have them on board. And yeah, I hope you're enjoying it so far. We've had a pretty good start to the year. Daytona 500, obviously a bit of a disaster across. But yeah, apart from that, the other racing we've been doing across the various leagues that we're in has been going pretty well. So yeah, long may it continue.
Yeah, definitely. All right, mate. Well, we'll see you next week at Vegas, will we?
Yeah, that's the plan. Unless I find myself out on something, I believe I've got a birthday party on that day, but I think it will probably be well finished by the time the race starts. So, yeah, definitely the plan is to be here.
Yeah. Well, good to have you on board, Ed, and look forward to talking to you a few more times, hope maybe, but not too many.
Okay. Yeah, fingers crossed, mate. We'll see if we can sneak up into the booth again at some point.
All right, mate. Thanks very much for joining us in the booth tonight.
Thanks a lot.
Congratulations again.
Thank you.
All right, Carl. I guess that's the interview's done. JP's just whispered in our ears. We got some championship points ready to go, I believe. So, of course, Edward Foster leading the way with 42. Aidan Schultz, Norman Clark, Adam Malone, Darren Mckenzie, Ruben Phelps, JCW, Wayne Van Billion, Mark Smith, and Stuart Patterson. And that's a good run from Stuart there. I'll let you read off these ones, Carl.
Yeah, so onwards down, it's Greg Spencer, 28 points. 28 points. Tristan Koch, 27 points in 12th. 13th, we have Brent Henson, Jamie Nankervis in 14th. 15th for Devon Stokes, Scott McClintock in 16th. 17th for Stephen Williams, Kobe Jordan 18th. 19th for Brett Campbell. Brad Allison in 20th position on 19 points. As we go down to the next part is Ariel there in 21st with Justin Allen 22nd. David Trevethan in 23rd, Josh McCall 24th, Mark Johansson himself 25th, the final of the points awards.
Yeah, and those guys that have got 0 points, obviously, yeah, they haven't made 25% of the race to be classified as a finisher. So what did you think of that, Carl? Opening night of the Custom Paints and Diecast Australian Stock Car Championship.
But it brought us some great racing. Unfortunately, a few cautions early on. A bit sad to see that, of course. But once these cars get up to speed, once everybody gets settled in, it is going to give us some great racing. We saw that when everybody started to settle in towards the end of the race, they started to really come together. And we saw that fantastic run at the end. I think we're going to see some great racing for the rest of the season. Now, of course, you can catch it all here on SimChef Broadcasting. Make sure to tune in next weekend for the Las Vegas round, of course. Who is going to be rolling the lucky dice there, getting a victory in Vegas, baby?
Yeah, for the diamond in the desert 300. Normally we have some other races through the week, but don't believe the supercars have started yet. So we're a couple of weeks away from that for more racing on the SimShed broadcasting. But next week we're back here at 7:15 for the diamond in the desert 300. And just before I go, I'd like to thank our major sponsor, Custom Paints and Diecast, for coming on board this year. Track Racer, License Me, and of course, last but not least, JP and SimShed Broadcasting. Anything to add, JP or Carl?
Just a big thank you for having me here. It's been a pleasure to go with you guys. It's been a pleasure to go with JP again. It's been too long.
Yes, I believe so. And we will have you back a few times this year when you are free, and we will also see you out there in your Toyota, I believe.
Hopefully so, yeah. That's it. Hopefully I'll actually be able to get out on track a few times this season.
Okay, well, thanks to all our viewers tuning in. Hopefully next week we will have something to give back to you folks that have tuned in. A little bit of a competition now that we've settled in with round one. So for now, I'm going to sign off and thank everyone for tuning in. And be sure to come back next week on the SimShed broadcasting at 7:15 for round two of the Weekend Warriors Custom Paints Diecast Australian Stock Car Champion. Thanks very much, everyone.